Affairs Committee meeting of Monday, June the 17th, and welcome everyone. I'll call this meeting to order, and I'll call for a moment of silence. Please rise. Thank you. Please be seated. Motion here? Yeah. Prior to tonight's meeting, we met in camera and to discuss pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality pursuant to Section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act. And it was determined, I'm looking for a motion now that staff be directed to negotiate the terms with the seller as outlined within Report CONF 2019-016 and prepare the necessary documents to complete the transaction subject to successful negotiations in accordance with the council direction, and that funding for the purchase of land and associated costs be allocated from the MP reserve, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and execute the necessary documents. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Watton, seconder. Councillor Brown, questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the nature thereof? Councillor Kiesebrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On agenda item 9.3, report number 11.2, I'd like to declare pecuniary interest because Youngfield Farms rents our farmland. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Brown?
Through you, Madam Mayor, item 12.1, which is correspondence from John Henry. Cannabis is discussed in that, and I own cannabis medical marijuana stocks.
Stocks, okay. Thank you. Are there any others? Okay, your declarations have been noted. Thank you very much. Announcements from council. Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to congratulate the 15th annual Port Perry Dragon Boat races that occurred this weekend. There were 22 boats that participated in the event despite the overcast and somewhat dreary weather. They are happy to report that the funds raised went to the Hospital Foundation and the Scugog Lake Stewards, with a portion of that generous donation will be going to the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project. It is a wonderful event that keeps our town busy on this weekend every year, but it is definitely a very worthwhile event that happens. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Guido. Councillor Kiesebrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The summer concert lineup is finalized now for Port Perry Park, so there's going to be performances taking place most Sunday evenings from mid-June to early September, right at the Rotary Gazebo in Palmer Park. The shows will start at 6:30 and wrap up an hour later, and there's a few musicians that have been known to play a little bit longer, but it's going to be a wonderful event. The Port Perry Seniors Club Choir are going to kick off the 2019 season, so we encourage everyone to enjoy that music in the park.
Thank you, Councillor Kiesebrink. Are there others? Seeing none, I just want to say that I was at the Durham ALS Walk on Saturday, and they had a goal of $1 million raised over the number of years that they've been doing it. They surpassed that goal, I'm happy to report, on Saturday with a total of $1,004,000. So congratulations, and I hope they find a cure. Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I forgot to also announce this Sunday's Hoot for Hospice. They're attempting to break the Guinness Book World of Records for the most painters painting right down here in front of the municipal building. It's for a very, very worthwhile cause. You can still sign up. It's not too late to get your paintbrush out and join the event.
Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I have to congratulate the Toronto Raptors for their championship. I leave and they win a championship. But there are Port Perry connections. Of course, Kate Burness was part of the broadcast crew, so she was down there in Oakland when they won it all. And Port Perry's George Cope, who is the president and CEO of Bell, but also part of the ownership group, MLSE. He was there front and center today at the parade, so congratulations to all of those, and especially those locals.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great news indeed. Any announcements from, oh, you got one more?
It was really great to get a letter from the Hope for Homes event that we attended as well. They raised over $40,000, so that was really exciting also.
That's great news. Good. Okay, any announcements from staff? Seeing none. Okay, thank you very much. There's no minutes. Okay, that out. Public meetings. Number 9.1, is Mr. Hack here? Okay, if you would come forward, please. This one? Yeah. That's the one there, isn't it? Okay, thank you. This portion of the meeting has been set aside for a public meeting held under Section 28 of the Planning Act to consider the proposed community improvement plan for the Port Perry employment area. The purpose of this public meeting is to obtain the views and comments of the public. No decision will be made at this public meeting. It is important that the public express their views either in person or in writing prior to decisions being made by the Council of the Township of Scugog or the Region of Durham. Everyone present has the opportunity to speak. Please be considerate of the acknowledged speaker by refraining from side conversations. While you may agree or disagree with the speaker, please refrain from audible responses and respect each speaker. To ensure that all those present who wish to speak have the opportunity to do so, speakers should limit their comments to 5 minutes and keep comments as brief and to the point as possible. Prior to speaking, please clearly state and spell your name and provide your property address for records purposes. You are encouraged to provide your comments in writing so that staff can ensure that they are accurately recorded and appropriately considered. Please be advised that as of April 2018, the Ontario Municipal Board was replaced by the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT for short. If you wish to file an appeal of Council's decision to the LPAT, you must first speak to the matter at this public meeting or provide a written submission before a decision is made. If you don't, you may not be added as a party to a hearing by the LPAT unless the tribunal determines there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you would like to be notified of the decision on these matters, please provide written notice of your desire to receive notice. The notice for this public meeting was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. I will now ask John Hack from Sierra Planning and Management to provide information regarding the proposed community improvement plan for the Port Perry employment area as attached to this agenda. Mr. Hack, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of Council. There is a presentation. Which file is it? PowerPoint, yes. Great, thank you. I would not have been able to find that myself. Just to go through this fairly quickly, just to remind everyone, this is a community plan that is specific to the Port Perry employment area as well as prospective hotel development. It's prepared under Section 28 of the Planning Act, and that, as the slide indicates, is a planning tool that's used fairly regularly to try and stimulate development in the public interest. In terms of where we are, we followed a fairly long and lengthy process, as you have to for these things, including prior public consultation, development of the draft report, which everyone has and is public, and now this is the statutory meeting, and then pursuant to this, we'd work to finalize and present back to council for adoption. In terms of the rationale, there are a number of rationales for CIPs, but relevant to the employment area, the idea is to stimulate additional development for a range of very good reasons, and they're listed there in front of you. Strengthening the employment area generally, but also increasing the quality and sustainability of employment and the gross number of employees, but also moving the needle somewhat on assessment, and that is obviously a goal of many municipalities, and CIPs are used to that end. More specifically, just linking back to the official plan, the relevant sort of providing policy is, as you see there, under Section 9, improve the property and business tax base by encouraging economic expansion and new development. So those are the policy goals surrounding it. And just to add a little bit more, the ones which are most relevant here are in blue, where there are a number of reasons for focusing on the Port Perry employment area, chief amongst those being the ability to stimulate economic growth, but also this is an area that's undergoing some secondary planning for deficiencies in sanitary, sewer, water and stormwater systems as well. Obviously there are associated drainage and wetland issues as well. In terms of the area, this is the most important aspect, defining the area within which incentives to property development can occur. The area is defined for the employment area includes prestige industrial in pink, and then the hatched area is general industrial. In terms of the eligibility, this is an important point, that not everything that can occur in that area is eligible, because we are focusing on those uses that will generate higher order assessment and also job gain, and so that focuses on manufacturing, businesses, medical, dental, various professional, corporate head office, and so forth, but it would not include activities which would be otherwise typically seen as commercial in nature. One addition is that of the intent for economic development purposes to stimulate the prospect and the development of a hotel in Port Perry serving a defined need. Accordingly, this plan puts in place a community improvement project area, so the area within which any kind of incentive assistance can happen, as being the existing urban area of Port Perry, and so we've mapped it out there. So it is not the entire jurisdiction of the township, but just Port Perry's urban area. Onto the programs that are in place, and they're in place for both the employment area and the hotel project area. The first one is a smaller program, planning fees and building permit grant program, that allows for 75% reduction in planning fees. That's not every single cost incurred by a prospective developer. In other words, if it went to arbitration or there was some significant studies that would be done, you're not funding those. But you are funding here the application fees to 75%, and under the sort of monetary limit, $15,000 per property. Program 2, this is the bigger program, Development Charge Grant Program. So this is a program equivalent to the development charges that have to be paid by development. A maximum allowance of up to 100% for the most deserving cases. It is only for the DCs that are levied by the town, so not the entire bill which finds its way to development, not the region nor the education charges. The third program is a cash in lieu of parkland dedication grant program, which gives back some of the up to 100% of the cash in lieu dedication payment that may be required. And again, the idea here is to limit the costs of making development happen. Everything is on a first come, first served basis for the time being as this plan rolls out. And it is important to note that this remains a discretionary program of council. You can turn on and turn off the programs as you deem appropriate based on all of the considerations that you as council and staff have to bring forward. It is a 5-year program. And in terms of the performance measures, we often recommend that this be undertaken on an annual basis, and some of the measures here, there will be others, but some of them include the general take-up, the general satisfaction, the general amount of funding that is finding its way to successful applications, and of course the leveraging effect, how much private investment, how many jobs are being created as a result. So that is the summary, and back to you if I can, Your Worship.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, John, for your presentation. I just have a question with respect to the CIP for the hotel lands. As everyone is aware, we recently had an announcement for a hotel in this community, and my question is that area eligible for this, and if not, why not? Just for the understanding of the public and that. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship, I haven't seen the notification, but if this is the golf course lands, then consideration was given as to where development can occur, and without going into the mechanics of the zoning, there are provisions for development on that site related to golf course operations. The goal here is to respect planning objectives of the town in general, and so going through this process, the feeling was that the urban area provided enough opportunity to put a hotel which met the provisions of the official plan, and that was the reason.
Councillor Ross?
Just in regards to the CIP funding, it's open-ended.
Is your microphone on?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in regards to the funding of the CIP, it's open-ended, although there's a mention of such a ceiling being implemented. There's no dollar figure or percentage. In speaking with staff also, understanding, given that it's a discretionary program of council and it can be canceled at any time, would it not be prudent to have an actual number or percentage at which point we say enough is enough for how much we're giving away? Can you comment on that?
Yes, certainly, through you, Your Worship. Thank you for the question. Every one of the programs has its limits. So on a per application basis, there are very clear limits, and you can award a grant up to a maximum of what those limits are. So you could refuse, you could partially approve. It is something that you have discretion to do. I think your question was, if you had many applications, what's the overall budget that the council wants to put in place? And again, it is not a change or amendment necessary to the plan. As you operate this plan, if you were inundated with applications, you probably very quickly would seek to put a staff report together on how much money should be spent on these effectively competing applications. So at this time, it might not be necessary. I think your observation, though, should be taken on board as this gets rolled out, and we should monitor what is the cost to the municipality.
Great. It would be a good problem to have, I think, but thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Brown?
Yes, Mr. Hack, on page 30, the CIP allows for grants, loans, and other to help private landowners to encourage interest and assist with improvements to certain properties. I'm presuming that a developer would look at a grant first, would want a grant first, and then if they failed in that attempt, we would be providing a loan to them. Does that sound right? I'm sorry, page 30.
Page 66 in our agenda.
Page 30 of the
I think it was page 30 on my notes, so I might be, if you can't speak to it, I can just let it go, but I was just curious.
Well, just in terms, just to answer your question, Section 28 of the Planning Act allows the provision of grants and loans. That's the language that is used. So if you were to add to programs that you wish to provide actual loans, you could do so. And there are many municipalities that provide forgivable loans, so they're essentially grants, but if the provisions of that loan are not met, they have to repay the funds. There are other programs in place where they are loans at zero interest. This plan does not actually contemplate loans as such for the employment CIP. You might consider that under a downtown CIP, where you're providing for renovation assistance and things of that nature. But again, typically, you may prefer to go down the route of providing what we call forgivable loans, so they're effectively grants, because the municipality is not acting as the bank in this case.
Any other questions from council? Councillor McDougall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Question pertaining to, you said it does not apply to ventures that are generally commercial in nature. What do you mean by commercial in nature?
Well, this is through your worship to the council, that it's an important aspect of the plan is that we are trying to be as clear, or the municipality is trying to be as clear as possible with anyone that may be a prospective applicant. That the aim of this plan is to help what they call employment land uses, which is a little bit of an esoteric planning description, but it typically would not include, for example, general retail type uses. The ones that you might have on a retail pad on the edge of town or on Main Street, for example. They are industrial land type employment uses. So, you know, the theory of it is higher order, higher paying jobs that each community would sort of strive to have, and it helps obviously with the assessment balance. So we went through an exercise of, rather than just saying whatever is allowed under the zoning, to actually specify and help applicants understand that we're really looking at the following range of uses, and we indicated some in the presentation there. There's a longer list in the plan itself, and at all times it is essentially discretionary. So if something comes along which is a complex mix of uses, you know, the town will look at it. But what we wanted to do is try and restrict out of the gates, so that we're very clear that we want a particular range of uses that would typically occur in employment areas.
Further?
Further through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. So this is not strictly based on the DC charges bylaw through the region, and I would imagine such that utility contractors, et cetera, this would apply for them as well?
Well, it is based on, yes, so you're right. So the DC is different than zoning in terms of how it applies. And, you know, our lens here is what the zoning allows, but then really picking from the zoning those range of uses that we clearly want to focus on. Remember, this is a use of public funds, so you as a council have the absolute right to be quite picky in terms of what you want to assist with. I don't mind sharing with you that what I'm suggesting here often comes in some communities with a little bit of concern on the part of commercial land use owners, property owners, that feel that they need some assistance, but there are other kinds of community improvement plans that are often put in place. You'll often see a municipality with a downtown community improvement plan, maybe even a broader commercial areas community improvement plan, and then a separate employment or industrial land CIP, which is really trying to focus on a very specific goal, which is essentially it's an economic development mandate to grow the employment and the assessment base for the town.
One last question. So you suggested this is a use of community funds. The development charges that are not paid for by the developer are then shouldered by the municipality over time, is that correct?
Yes, essentially, the way all of these funds work is the CIP will cost the municipality public funds, whether it be through a grant back equivalent to the development charge that an industrial user would pay, or a grant back equivalent to the planning fees or the building permits fees. So the municipality will need to account for that expenditure, which is why these kinds of programs and these kinds of documents are frankly put together so that you have a clear policy procedure in place to be able to evaluate applications.
So just to be clear, somebody has to pay the development charges in the long run. They can't go unpaid.
Yes, Councillor, the development charge account will need to be balanced at some point in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything further from council? Director Heritage.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there's another important point here too as well, is that with the introduction of these programs and landowners taking advantage of these programs, they will be generating jobs. And that will generate additional taxes and assessment for the municipality. So that's an important point as well.
That's the payback.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor Kiesebrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So basically, different communities create their own CIPs for their own revitalization programs, but in our CIP, if I understand correctly, we're basically proposing 3 programs, so that the planning fees and building permits, I think it was up to 75%, can be essentially forgiven. They're still going to pay those fees to us up front, but then we're going to, as they complete the project, we're going to be then giving those funds back to them, and that's an incentive for them to locate their business here versus somewhere else. And it's also a trade-off for the fact that we don't have as much services as maybe they could get somewhere else, because we're asking them to locate in an unserviced area. So would that be a correct understanding? So that would be one of the programs. The other 2, from what I understand from your report, is the cash in lieu of parkland. So normally that would be monies that they would have to pay if they weren't going to allocate parkland as a part of the project to the township. The other one was the development charges grant that my colleague was referencing. The 4th area is the Region's Revitalization Program. So right now, without a CIP, we can't bonus, so we can't give help to someone. But through this is a legal way for us to provide help for businesses to locate. And it's also a legal way for us to access funds from the Region's Revitalization Program, because the only entities that qualify are entities that fall within the context of a valid CIP fit. Is that a proper understanding of your report?
That's a perfect reflection on it. That is exactly it. The CIP needs to be in place to be able to get access to the regional program. The 2 programs, 1 and 3, are both essentially granting back regulatory permit costs. They can be large numbers, and they could be relatively small numbers. The development charge is the one where, if you look around the Greater Toronto area, DCs have been in place since 1988. They're part and parcel of the landscape, notwithstanding proposed changes under the current government. But you would be providing a grant, so it's always allowed by Section X. So the payment is made, and you provide a grant back, either equivalent to or subject to the maximums. But the entire program here is for economic development reasons.
So further, Madam Mayor, as Director Heritage was explaining, the bottom line is that we then have the benefit of further economic development, further jobs, and a greater tax base, which is our long-term payback for the upfront help that we're providing. My question then would be, with respect to how this is handled, in this report, it suggested that there would be a group of people who would peruse the applications and sort of prepare their recommendations and that someone from the development office would be a part of that. Do we have someone in mind, Director Heritage, or is that part of what's still going to be coming back to council? Because this is a lot of but we hope a lot of work, as Councillor Ross mentioned, we hope we get lots of applications.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the council, yes, that's something that will come back to council in a recommendation report in the fall. What's being recommended in this study is that group, internal group, review the applications, prepare a recommendation, and that recommendation ultimately comes back to council for final approval for grant applications.
Anything further from council? Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to the proposed community improvement plan? Please proceed to the microphone and state your name and municipal address for the record. Yeah.
And good evening. My name is John Galbraith, and I'm speaking on behalf of properties 104 and 108 Northport Road. I just wanted to share with council before you have the opportunity to either endorse this CIP program or deny it. We have a business that we've been operating rental properties across the region of Durham. We're seeing growth in our business about 75% each year. And we're kind of getting to the point now where we need to build a permanent facility to consolidate all of the properties that we're renting across the region of Durham. We've done a cost analysis on the rental rate versus the development charges that are currently in place in the township of Scugog. And the development charges are equal to about 15 to 20 years of rental payments that we're making right now. So without the CIP program in place, it just doesn't make financial sense for us to develop the facility here in Port Perry. Now, we have ownership of some vacant land over in the Reach industrial areas that we would absolutely love to develop. And again, to add to Kevin's comments about how it brings jobs to the community, it would bring approximately 30 to 40 jobs to the township of Scugog here in the average salary range of $35 an hour. So that's the benefit to the community if this CIP program does get endorsed by council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the delegate? No? Okay. Are there any other members of the public who would like to come forward? I'll ask a last time. Any members of the public who would like to come forward to speak to the community improvement plan? Okay, thank you. Thank you for attending and providing your input into this statutory public information meeting. This concludes this portion of the meeting. Thank you. We'll move on to the... we'll move to the report on page 30 of your agenda package. The recommendation is that this report, DEV 2019-022, entitled Draft Community Improvement Plan for the Port Perry Employment Area, be received, and that staff report back to council with a recommended community improvement plan for the Port Perry Employment Area in the fall of 2019. I have a mover, please. Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Watton. Questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Move to the next public meeting. This portion of the meeting has been set aside for a public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Kevin M. Duguay of Kevin M. Duguay Community Planning and Consulting Incorporated on behalf of Jacob and Barbara Bishop for property located at 3280 Pogue Road, Port Perry. The purpose of this public meeting is to obtain the views and comments of the public. No decision will be made at this public meeting. It is important that the public express their views either in person or in writing prior to decisions being made by the Council of the Township of Scugog. Everyone present has the opportunity to speak. Please be considerate of the acknowledged speaker by refraining from side conversations. While you may agree or disagree with the speaker, please refrain from audible responses and respect each speaker. To ensure that all those present who wish to speak have the opportunity to do so, speakers should limit their comments to 5 minutes and keep comments as brief and to the point as possible. Prior to speaking, please clearly state and spell your name and provide your property address for records purposes. You are encouraged to provide your comments in writing so that staff can ensure that they are accurately recorded and appropriately considered. Please be advised that as of April 2018, The Ontario Municipal Board was replaced by the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT for short. If you wish to file an appeal of council's decision to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT, you must first speak to the matter at this public meeting or provide a written submission before a zoning bylaw amendment is passed. If you don't, you will not be added as a party to a hearing before the LPAT unless the tribunal determines there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you would like to be notified of the decision on these matters, please provide written notice of your desire to receive notice. Public notice was served by the Township of Scugog in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. I will now ask Nicola Alston to provide information on the application on behalf of the Township of Scugog. Ms. Alston, please proceed with your presentation. Yes? Just a moment.
We have a large group from Cornish that would like to take a seat to
okay.
watch, but didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay. If the group from Cornish would like to come in and take a seat, we welcome you.
It's a large group.
We're pleased to have a large group from RH Cornish present. Thank you so much for coming. And you can see democracy in action if you don't fall asleep first.
They wanted to watch, but they said they didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, okay.
Because it came a little late.
Yeah. Wow, what a great group.
It was a large group.
Yeah, this is great. And they're still coming. All right, Ms. Alston, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present preliminary information with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the statutory public meeting. A future staff report will include an analysis of any comments received tonight, together with any subsequent written comments, and make a recommendation on the zoning application. The required public notice was provided to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property and was posted on the township's website. A sign has also been placed on the property to notify the public of the application. On February 28, 2019, an application to amend zoning bylaw 14-14 was received from Kevin M. Duguay of Kevin M. Duguay Community Planning and Consulting, Inc. on behalf of Jacob and Barbara Bishop. The application was deemed complete on April 18, 2019. The applicants are the owners of approximately 3.9 hectares, or 9.6 acres, located at 3280 Hogue Road, which is on the eastern side of Scugog Island and has frontage on Lake Scugog. Two applications for consent, or severance, were approved by the Region of Durham Land Division Committee on February 11, 2019. Each new lot will have a minimum frontage of 100 meters, and the western parcel will have a minimum lot area of just over 4,600 square meters, and the second lot will have a minimum lot area of 4,800 square meters. The retained parcel will contain the existing dwelling and accessory structures and have a lot area of approximately 3 hectares. One of the conditions of approval for severance is to rezone the two severed parcels from agricultural holding zone to rural residential zone, and to rezone the retained parcels from agricultural holding and environmental protection zones to a rural residential zone, and to expand the existing environmental protection zone to recognize the ecological and hydrogeological functions of the existing wetland as recommended by Kawartha Conservation. A planning justification report and a stage 1 and 2 archaeological assessment were submitted in support of the application. Attachment 1 to our report shows the conditionally approved severances as well. Staff have determined that the rezoning application is consistent with and conforms to the provincial policy statement, the provincial growth plan, the Greenbelt plan, and both the region and township's official plan, as well as the severed and retained parcels comply with the Region of Durham drilled well and lot sizing policy. There were no objections or concerns received from any external agencies, which include Regional Planning and Health Departments and the Kawartha Conservation Authority. As previously mentioned, KRCA recommended placing the wetlands and an associated 30-meter buffer in an environmental protection zone. No objections or concerns were identified by the township's internal departments. Should staff recommend approval of this application, the necessary zoning bylaw amendment and all conditions of approval will be included in a future staff report for the consideration of council. Madam Mayor, that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, thank you very much. I will now ask Kevin Duguay of Kevin M. Duguay Community Planning and Consulting, Inc. to present information regarding this application on behalf of the applicant. Mr. Duguay, please proceed with your presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Press the red button. Is that better? I was concerned that the arrival of the recent delegation had something to do with this application. I trust they do not. For the record, my name is Kevin M. Duguay. Thank you for the correct pronunciation of my surname. I tripped over it for years. I'd like to thank staff for their assistance with this application. Actually, Nicola represents the third planner that I've been affiliated with this file, but throughout the process, we've been able to secure from the Region's Land Division Committee the necessary approvals in principle to sever the properties. We then filed a requisite rezoning application, and we are in support and concur with the staff recommendation. Joining me this evening, amongst the now much larger audience, Jacob's at the back, the property owner, and his son-in-law, Ralph. It'll be Ralph and his wife that proposed to build on one of the two properties, and they're very anxious to proceed with that construction. So like we heard previously on development charges, this consent application, if approved, will precipitate two new lots which will generate taxes. We've heard from KRC and other authorities there really are no concerns. We did a lot of work to date, and that gave rise to the favorable approval at the region level, and we hope this evening. I'm available to respond to any questions, and the property owner and a prospective future property owner join me as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duguay. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, are there... Oh, sorry, Councilor Ross.
Just sneak one in there. Just a quick question in regards to the drilled wells. Is it a condition that a proper well will have to be found on each one of these properties, or has it already been, in order for the severance to continue?
I'm going to seek clarification, if I can, from Ron. I'm grateful that he attended in this regard.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Ross. There's two brand new wells drilled on the both severed properties now.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this application? Please proceed to the microphone and state your name and municipal address for the record. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the applications? Any further questions from council? Seeing none, we'll move to page 8 of your agenda for the report. Oh, sorry. First of all, I thank you for attending and providing your input into the statutory public information meeting. This concludes this portion of the meeting. And now we'll turn to page 8 of your agenda for the report. And the recommendation is that report DEV 2019-020, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Z01-2019, Jacob and Barbara Bishop, 3280 Pogue Road, Part Lots 9 and 10, Concession 11, Parcel T, Ward 3, information report be received, and that staff report back to council with a recommendation on this application at the earliest opportunity. I have a mover, please. Councilor Guido, Councilor Ross, questions or comments? Councilor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and if I may, through you to the director, or to Nicola, seeing that there was no public feedback today, in the audience, has there been any public feedback through any written notices?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, there has not.
Okay, so then when we do not, as a municipality, receive anything like that, what does earliest opportunity mean?
Through you, Madam Mayor, early fall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? All those in favor? Did you have a question? Go ahead.
Is there, given that the report is complete at this time and given that there isn't any other feedback, is there any way for this to be the report, for us to receive it and pass it now, or does it have to still come back in the fall? And again, that's just a rookie question because it's not something that I've encountered yet as a new councillor.
Director Heritage, could you give us your guidance on this?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, yes, it should come back in early fall. It would be a separate recommendation report with an appropriate staff recommendation with conditions associated with that recommendation.
Further?
So, given that there are families that want to build their home, is there, and because we have a summer break, is there any way to expedite and to bring it forward earlier, or is that the soonest that it can happen, given the workload of our staff at this time?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, yes, that's the earliest time we can get something forward. It would be in September.
Okay. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on to the next public meeting. This portion of the meeting has been set aside for a public meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment submitted by Kristen Sotar, I hope I pronounced your name correctly, of Youngfield Farms for the property located at 3670 Prout Road, Nesselton. Purpose of this public meeting is to obtain the views and comments of the public. No decision will be made at this public meeting. It is important that the public express their views either in person or in writing prior to decisions being made by the Council of the Township of Scugog or the Region of Durham. Everyone present has the opportunity to speak. Please be considerate of the acknowledged speaker by refraining from side conversations. While you may agree or disagree with the speaker, please refrain from audible responses and respect each speaker. To ensure that all those present who wish to speak have the opportunity to do so, speakers should limit their comments to 5 minutes and keep comments as brief and to the point as possible. Prior to speaking, please clearly state and spell your name and provide your property address for records purposes. You're encouraged to provide your comments in writing so that staff can ensure they are accurately recorded and appropriately considered. Please be advised that as of April 2018, the Ontario Municipal Board was replaced by the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT for short. If you wish to file an appeal of Council's decision to the LPAT, you must first speak to the matter at this public meeting or provide a written submission before a decision is made. If you don't, you may not be added as a party to a hearing by the LPAT unless the tribunal determines there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you would like to be notified of the decision on these matters, please provide written notice of your desire to receive notice. The notice for this public meeting was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. I will now ask Nicola Alston again to provide information regarding the applications and an overview of the staff information report included in this agenda. Ms. Alston, please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to present preliminary information with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the statutory public meeting. A future staff report will include an analysis of comments received tonight and together with any subsequent written comments and make a recommendation on the zoning application. The required public notice was provided to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property and was posted on the township's website. A sign has also been placed on the property to notify the traveling public of the application. On April 11th, 2019, an application to amend zoning bylaw 14-14 was received from Kristen Sotar of Youngfield Farms. The application was deemed complete on April 18th, 2019. The applicants are the owners of approximately 28.3 hectares, or 69.96 acres, located at 3670 Pogue Road, and also of the abutting 92.08 hectares, or 227.53 acres. An application for consent or severance was approved by the Region of Durham's Land Division Committee on June 10th, 2019. A .41 hectare, or just over an acre lot, with an existing surplus farm dwelling was severed from 3670 Pogue Road with a 27.9 hectare agricultural parcel of land being retained. The retained parcel will be consolidated with the benefiting lands, which are identified in yellow on the screen, or the abutting parcel. Please be aware that the severance policy of the agricultural designation within the Township of Scugog's official plan permits the severance of a resident surplus to a farming operation as a result of a farm consolidation, which residence was an existing use as of December 16, 2004, provided that the retained farm parcel is zoned to prohibit any further severance and the establishment of any residential dwelling. This policy, the Township's policy, is also consistent with the provincial policy statement, Greenbelt Plan, and the Region of Durham official plan. A condition of approval of the Land Division application is to rezone the severed parcel, which is in blue here, from agricultural zone to rural residential in order to recognize the lot area and frontage of this parcel. The exception zone proposed identifies the oversized attached accessory structure. The retained parcel, or the area identified in red, and the abutting parcel identified in yellow, will be rezoned from agriculture, agricultural holding, and environmental protection, so that each of these zones will be assigned a zone exception, which will prevent any further severances and the establishment of a residential dwelling on these lands. A zoning or a zoning and justification report, an inventory of land holdings for Youngfield Farms Limited, and an environmental site screening questionnaire were submitted in support of the application. Attachment 1 of the Township's report shows the conditionally approved severance. There were no objections or concerns received from any external agencies, which include the Regional Planning, Works and Health Departments, and Kawartha Conservation Authority. No objection or concerns were identified by the Township's internal departments. Should staff recommend approval of the application, the necessary zoning bylaw amendment and all conditions of approval will be included in a future staff report for the consideration of council. Madam Mayor, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? We note your conflict, Councillor Kiesebrink. No questions from council? Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak to this application? Please proceed to the microphone and state your name and municipal address for the record. Yep, come up the front. Pardon? You're the landowner? Okay. There's something you would like to add?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead. The red button, it'll be on.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Kristen Sutar, and I'm a junior partner at Youngfield Farms, located at 3880 Jobe Road in Nesselton. Thank you very much to Nicola for her summary. I'd like to clarify 2 items that I had submitted in the application. Firstly, that since submission, the tenant has vacated the property and it's now unoccupied. Secondly, within my application, I included a report that should have been titled an owner's planning outline instead of a planning justification report, as it was prepared by myself and I'm not a certified professional planner. So my apologies for the oversight. Thank you very much for reviewing the application, and I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
Okay. Director, were you aware of those issues? Or Nicola, were you aware of those issues?
Madam Mayor, Kristen did mention that to me when we were speaking about a week ago.
Okay, that's fine. We won't be approving it tonight anyway. We'll just be approving it for until the final report comes in the fall. Any other members of the public? I'll ask one more time. Any members of the public who wish to speak to this application? Seeing none, thank you for attending and providing your input into the statutory public information meeting. This concludes this portion of the meeting, and I'll ask you to turn to page 19 of your agenda for the report. And the recommendation is that report DEV 2019-021 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Z02 2019 Youngfield Farms Limited 3670 Prout Road, Part Lot 13, Concession 7, Part 1, Plan 10R-1365, Ward 4, Information Report be received, and that staff report back to council with a recommendation on this application at the earliest opportunity. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Guido, seconded by Councillor Ross. Questions or comments? All those in favor, is there anything you'd like to add, Nicola?
No, I do not. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, Director Heritage. We'll now move on to presentations, and I'd like to welcome our new inspector for Durham North, Kathy Bodden. Kathy joined the police service in 1990, and eventually she was awarded the position in Sexual Assault and Child Abuse Unit. She does have the ability and the personality and everything that's required to help empower these survivors towards a path of healing. Then she was promoted to sergeant, and she was awarded the first ever position as domestic violence coordinator. And she was instrumental in designing and implement the program DRIVEN, D-R-I-V-E-N, which is Durham Region Intimate Relationship Violence Empowering Network. And this program identifies gaps within the community and allows services to work together to better support these survivors, which includes children. She's been involved in Gowns for Girls, Ontario Shores Mental Health Committee, Special Olympics, as well as local and provincial training to first responders on sexual assault, child abuse, and domestic violence investigations. She's now been promoted to inspector, and she was leading the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Unit, and now has been assigned to Durham North, and we're very glad to have her. And I understand you really like it here, too.
I do.
So Kathy, welcome, and I wonder if you would like to further introduce yourself and talk about Durham North.
Well, is this working?
You press the button and the red light should show up.
I think we're good?
I think we're good.
Great. Welcome, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much for having me, councillors, CAO, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, more importantly, those young minds that are in the room. Welcome. It's great to have them there. Thank you for that introduction. That was a brief overview. I have 29 years as an officer. One thing that people should know about me is that I love my career. In fact, it's not really a career, it's a passion, and I love coming to work every single day. Serving this community is something that I have done passionately for the last 29 years. And when I was advised I was coming up to Port Perry Station to lead the North Division, I was very excited about this new challenge because this is one area that I had not worked in. So I've been pretty much everywhere throughout the Durham Regional Police. So upon my arrival, it's been a lot of getting to know the geographical area and making sure that we are in communication and working collaboratively with all our partners, including the crime analyst. We have a community patrol plan that we operate at a North Division, and one of the things that I've had to do since my arrival, and it's only been 4 weeks, was get to devising that community patrol plan and what does that look like. With the crime analysts, with the entire team at North Division, and you should know that there's 67 members who work out of the North Division station. We have come up with a community patrol plan based on the needs of the community, based on evidence, and those will be the areas in which we concentrate on. Areas like traffic, which seems to be one of the biggest issues that I've been faced with upon my arrival, and no doubt all my predecessors as well. And I'm sure you're feeling that too. Another aspect that we've been collaborating is making sure we're meeting with the mayors every month, as well as Chief Laraka of the First Nations as well. I had arrived from the previous post that I had was diversity, equity, and inclusion. It was a very new portfolio for our service. We had created a strategic plan and executed, my role was to execute that plan in the last 2 years, and we have made great gains, making sure people in our communities feel included and their voices are heard. It's a little bit about me. I just wanted to say thank you very much for having me, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Questions, Council? Councilor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you very much, and welcome to one of the, if not the greatest community. I'm sure my fellow councillors will agree that when we were knocking on doors at election time, one of the largest concerns from our residents was the safety in regards to traffic, the speeds in our residential areas, the lack of required enforcement that is needed to keep children safe when they're either playing outside or just anyone safe when they're out. What will be the approach, or what will change as far as the traffic concerns?
Not much is going to change in regards to, we're out 24/7 doing traffic enforcement on that. With the community patrol plan, though, we have a very focused approach on what we are tackling right now based on the evidence that are out on the roadways. As you know, the area is huge that we cover, and the officers are divided up into platoons. If, for those who don't know, there's 4 shifts. We work 12-hour shifts. There's 4 shifts rotating and approximately 13 members on each platoon. So they are covering in this whole North Division. The focuses have been based on the evidence we've got from the crime analyst. That does not discount all the issues that are raised that are brought before us. So we get issues that are raised constantly, every day, and we apply our resources to those to see if there is any validity as to what we are hearing and experiencing. So to answer your question, you know, the traffic enforcement remains in effect. We have one of the aspects I will ask you to pay attention to is the North Division Twitter account, as well as my own Twitter account, because we're getting a little bit more savvy with the use of technology, social media technology, so community knows where we are, because we're not always seen. You don't always see us. You may think you see us, but often we're doing enforcement and we're not in vehicles and uniforms that are going to make us known.
Thank you. And if I may, Madam Mayor, a few years ago when there was raised concerns about a particular crossing on 7A, traveling children to school, we had a traffic officer that would come out every once in a while and observe the traffic patterns and do radar. Is that something that will continue in our school zones? Yeah, so we are always responding to issues that are being raised. I can't comment about what happened a couple of years ago. I wasn't here. But when those issues are brought forward, we do investigate those and work with our partners to make sure that children are safe and, in fact, help settle the dispute if there is one. We still have our school resource officers working in the schools as well, doing presentations, particularly in the high schools, about safe driving, distracted driving. Great. And if I may, one further, will the coffee with the police officers continue locally? So thank you for raising that. Coffee with a Cop, it's the hashtag that we're using. We've just released a new poster. You'll find it on our Twitter account, and we will be doing that every Tuesday, rotating right throughout the North Division regions.
So that's a great opportunity for any member of the community to come and have a coffee or a tea with the officer and ask any questions you want, express your concerns. The officer then comes back with those concerns and those discussions, and we react to what is being said to us.
That's great. I think it's a wonderful initiative that you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's in the north, and in Scugog is the second Tuesday of the month, and it's from 10 to 12.
That's right.
At Queen's Beans right now, yeah.
And just lastly, I'd like to invite the community and all members to come to our Community Safety Day. It's this Saturday from 11 till 3 p.m. There'll be many of our specialty units there. It's a great day for our young folks to turn up, and their parents and families to come as well and learn a little bit about what our police service has to offer.
I understand a lot of the emergency vehicles in all emergency services will be there.
Yes, I believe we have our partnership with our fire services will be present and doing some demonstrations as well.
And the dogs will be there?
I believe so, yes.
So you hear that, RH Cornish students? It's going to be a great day up at North Division on Highway 12. Any other questions? Councilor McDougall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Representing a rural ward, I see a lot of road watch signs that are around. Is the road watch program running in North Division right now?
I believe it is. That's one aspect that I have not been able to tackle at this point. So, yet. And I'm just almost 4 weeks into this position, so I'll be honest and say I don't know enough about it to answer it right now.
Very good. And then just one follow-up, as a participant in Vision Zero, a stakeholder, I'm excited to see it move forward, excited to see the region partake in it. What are the plans for North Division to kind of grab into Vision Zero?
So our crime analyst is a member or participating in Vision Zero. Our crime analyst also has done her master's degree in particularly in traffic, and has a 5-year traffic history and a vision for us. So our crime analyst has been extremely important to the creation of our community patrol plan right now.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Brown?
Inspector, congratulations and welcome. Thank you for your presentation. 27 years is an awful long time.
29.
29, sorry.
She started when she was 5.
I thought,
yeah, that's right.
So it's almost 30 years anyway. I know how that feels. Do you have a first priority, or over the course of all those years, there's probably something you wanted to accomplish in North Durham, and here's your opportunity. If you do have, and if I missed it, I apologize, but if you do have a first priority, what is it and why?
The very first priority I have is listening to the voices that we have from our external planning that was done, and that was the voices of this community. And what I heard constantly coming out was our visibility. Not only it was just really the engagement and our visibility in the area, and that's the very first thing that we're going to tackle. I'm a very collaborative leader. I also empower our members to be present at different events, so you would have seen them at many events in across the North Division already, probably in the last 4 weeks. So it'll be about visibility, and it's also taking social media and using that as some visibility as well, because we know our young folks are operating a little differently than maybe our generation does.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Keisebring?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for your presentation. Back in 2011 to 2012, you were involved in Project Mansfield, and you wouldn't think that human trafficking would be an issue in our community. Unfortunately, I had a first-hand experience with a friend who went through a terrible tragedy, and I'm wondering, with your experience, how you want to move forward to protect our community, especially in this regard, where we want to prevent that from progressing.
Yes, my background has a very heavy criminal investigation background. We have a CIB, which is a criminal investigation branch assigned to North Durham. It's led by Detective Sergeant Janet Gallipo, who has almost 30 years on this job, and a very heavy background on investigations as well. Between the school resource officers, the frontline officers, and our Criminal Investigation Bureau, I'm absolutely confident in the investigations that they've been tackling surrounding human trafficking, sexual assault, child abuse. They are top priority at protecting our young folks in this community, absolutely, and our adults as well.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for coming and making yourself known to us and our community here, and we certainly wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you again, but not in the back of a cruiser. I have a motion, please, that the delegation by Kathy Bowden, Durham Region Police Services, be received. Councillor Kiesebrink, Councillor Brown, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. And now I want to thank the R.H. Cornish Future City Leaders Group. I want to thank you for your patience. Maybe you've learned something throughout this process, if you haven't fallen asleep. So, who is coming forward to present? Mrs. Scragg? Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. I have 10 or so students who would like to come up and present to you ideas for the future of Port Perry.
Perfect.
We have done this as a future city project, as a culminating activity at the end of the year for grades 6th and 7th in my school.
Okay. So, did you want to call out some of them? And
yeah,
just please go ahead.
Come on up, guys.
Hmm?
Abby, do you want to sit here? We're going to stand. Abby Broker.
Yeah.
You guys want to, is it best if they come in?
Yeah, but the speakers will have to speak into the mics and push the button until the red light shows up.
Okay.
Could we find a chair for this young lady?
Abby, you can sit here and it'll feel better.
I don't care whether she wants one or not. She
So
should have
when it's your time, when you guys come, line up, and then you're going to come in to speak into the mic. Okay?
We are really excited about hearing what you've come up with.
Okay, and then I'll... Okay, and then, so who's first? Abby's first after me, and then you guys are going to come and stand in your spot. So they have little spaces in our video where they're going to introduce themselves because it was their portion or their idea that the video will play from there.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Yes, you may. You're just going to turn. Welcome to the future of Port Perry. The students of R.H. Cornish have researched ideas for public spaces from cities around the world, from science and tech facilities, and from the future. Our hope is that your brain is stretched by this experience and that you can also envision a future that is full of hope and possibility.
Hi, I'm Abby, and for the Future City project, my idea was kinetic and animal pathways.
Hi, I'm Abby Sullivan, and for the Port Perry waterfront, I feel it would be a good thing to have a nice, relaxing walkway. The walkway should be made up of kinetic pavement, so when you walk on it, it creates energy used to light the path at night. It should also consist of high tables with stools facing the water that have powerful signs or quotes written on them. It should have chairs facing each other to get people to engage with one another. Also, laid-back chairs to relax on. Another thing to add would be docks behind vaults so people on boats could go over there to walk the path or get groceries. There should be lots of greenery around the path, such as trees and flowers. Some of the flowers could be annuals, perennials, or shrubs, and through the trees there should be many animal pathways. We need more animal pathways so animals have a safer way to travel. I feel that tourists and people who live in Port Perry will have an amazing time and get a great use out of this path.
Hi, my name is Katie Henry, and I have 2 ideas for the Port Perry waterfront. One is the sea bins at the lake, and 2 is having compressed plastic roads.
This is a sea bin. Sea bin is a water filtration system that will get rid of garbage and unwanted algae. The sea bin does not suck up fish, and it's quite cheap if you're using the non-permanent one, which is only $250. This is a picture of our lake today, which is very sad, but one sea bin could fix this all. A plus to having a sea bin is we don't need money because they go far distance and they don't run on gas and or oil. On to my second idea. I hope you enjoy. These are reused and compressed plastic roads. So normal roads are made out of plastic instead of it going to a landfill. They go on like puzzle pieces and they last 3 to 5 times longer than normal asphalt roads and they're better for the environment. Plastic roads don't collect puddles, plus they have all the tubing you need underneath. All this plastic is made in less than a day, and imagine that going to a road instead of a landfill. That is a great investment and also would be great for the environment. Listening to my presentation, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you consider my ideas. Thank you very much.
The next students are Matthew and Bronwyn, who can't be here tonight, and their idea is solar benches and solar trees.
Hi, my name is Alice Brock, and my idea is to have a biohabitat.
Our idea for the Port Perry waterfront is to make a biohabitat so that people and animals can enjoy public space and to walk and enjoy nature. We should have a biohabitat on the Port Perry waterfront because it's good for the environment, animals, and people can enjoy it too. This idea will change Port Perry because it will encourage people to be outside and get the chance to be social. The biohabitat will have trees, gardens, ponds, benches, and pathways for people to walk and enjoy nature. People will enjoy this because it's outside and something that they can do. Thank you for listening to our idea for the future.
Hello, my name is Yona Ket, and my idea for the Future City project is green condos.
My idea for future Port Perry is that new condo developments should have trees and plants growing all over them. If independents should be sold and condos go there, we could ask that any developer that builds them have trees growing on each balcony throughout the grounds. This would provide more plants for CO2 to be absorbed and O2 to be released. It would also provide more places for birds to nest. Plus, studies show that people are generally happy in nature, so they feel like living in nature.
My name is Hunter Warnock, and I did my presentation on a bike sharing system.
My idea is to make a bike sharing system. This will make it easier for people to travel without using their car. This idea will get people active outside, get exercise, and travel without a car, which will reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. When you are done with the bike, you bring it back to the bike storage. The bike storage is a well-known book. There will be an app that can tell you where the bike storage units are, how many bikes are available, and when you'll be able to get one if there isn't any left. The bike storage is located beside the dump storage. Thank you for listening. That was my idea for the Port Perry waterfront.
Hi, my name is Tyler, and my name is AJ, and our idea for the Port Perry waterfront is a kinetic gym in the old mill.
Our first idea for the waterfront is to put a kinetic gym in the old mill, but first we would have to renovate it to make it safe for people to be in. The energy from the gym will go to good use such as powering the lights, with a bit of help from the solar panel. It will create 160 watts of electricity for a 1-hour workout on the elliptical. It's great because it will get people to interact in some way. There will also be a playroom for the young kids to go, so it's all ages. This new addition, people will be able to get great kids doing. This will be a positive effect for everybody because everybody can contribute to saving you. This will be a great place for people to be more social and make new friends. Thank you for listening to my waterfront project idea.
Hello, my name is Conrad Higgins, and for my future city project, I did heated sidewalks.
So my idea for the future city project is heated sidewalks. It turns sidewalks in the winter from this into this. It will be like our normal sidewalks, but they will be heated. There would also be grass stones branching off on these sidewalks with park benches in them for people to come, sit, and be protected from the elements. It would get people out of their houses and walking around, in turn making them healthier and happier. It would also make people think about the world that we live in and the advancements in technology being made every day.
Hi, I'm Ronan Guyton, and this is my idea for the Filtration Creek is my idea.
Hi, I'm Ronan Guyton, and here's my idea for the future city project. My idea is a natural filtration creek. This is a creek that filters the water and makes it clean while still being eco-friendly. What it can do for Port Perry. We went into town and did a survey, and everyone said they wanted the lake to be swimmable. And this creek can do that. What the creek does. The creek takes in non-safe water from the lake and makes it safe, by the plant absorbing the water and coming back out clean.
Hi, my name is Zach.
And my name's Tanner.
And our idea is a floating glass dome on the lake.
With kinetic bridges.
Our main idea can turn Port Perry into a place where all people can interact using a common nature scene to evoke conversation.
Our idea is to place a floating glass dome on the lake to act as a mini ecosystem.
It will have a waterfall that filters water as it draws it through the tube.
Then the clean water will go litter-free back into the lake. There will be kinetic bridges that will utilize the power of people walking on them and turn them into electricity.
The electricity can be used to power the dome's light during the morning and night. This is a good way to save electricity.
There will be plants and benches for people to interact.
Because a study has proven that when people are immersed in nature, they are happier.
And that.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything? Oh, what have we got?
So we also, Madam Mayor, we also have these displays, and these are more projects that did not make the final cut tonight. So how they work is you can take your phone, and then you just take a picture of them, although I understand the Samsungs are a bit of an issue. So you would just go like this, and then it'll call up the video, and you can watch the video of all the other kids who didn't make tonight's presentation, but there are many other ideas out there. So I've brought these for you guys to display and to take a look at what other ideas there are.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. That was just amazing. I know that our CAO, Paul Lalore, and our communications person, where is she, Lori? Oh, there she is. We went to visit RH Cornish, and we were just so inspired, were we not? Yeah. At the excitement that you inspired in these kids. So thank you so much, and thank you to the kids who worked so hard on these projects. And I can assure you that we always have a consultation process in any major projects, and I can assure you that what you've presented tonight and the other ones that are there, that they will be included in the consultation process as we move forward on the waterfront plan, and you've got other ideas there that could be incorporated throughout the township. So I can assure you that that will happen. And so we're delighted that you've got it in a video. We're delighted to have this. And I'm going to ask if council has any questions. Councillor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am so impressed with my RH Cornish Cougars. You guys are outstanding. Honestly, Mrs. Gregg, you lead quite the science class, I have to say. But I'm so impressed with you guys. For the parents in the audience, I know some of you were trying to record it. You may not know we do have a YouTube channel. This will be on it, so if you got the back of them, you'll get the front of them with the YouTube channel as well, so you'll be able to watch them there. But honestly, you guys are amazing. It's kind of overwhelming as a mom to watch you guys and your brains. It's pretty cool. Well done.
Councillor Kieserbrink.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering if we could get a copy of the video. I'd love to watch it again, because it went by so fast. Super job. My father-in-law, who since passed away, was Principal Harry Kieserbrink at RH Cornish, and I have to say, he would have been very proud. I got a little bit choked up today, because what a special group of young people you are. We're really proud of you. So thank you very much. Great job. Really good job.
We do have the video. Yeah.
Yes, you have it. Yeah, just one last, in our times right now, it can be really depressing, because we talk a lot about climate change, and for these guys, it seems overwhelming, and I just wanted to make sure that they know that they are the leaders of tomorrow, and that there are many positive solutions out there to look forward to tackling issues instead of just being overwhelmed by them.
Any other questions, Councillor McDougall?
Thank you very much, guys. As an engineer, many of those ideas are inspiring and awesome. It's just amazing. I'm looking forward to looking through some of the other ones to see perhaps maybe a kinetic pump track or skate park or something like that might be in there. Thank you very, very much.
Okay. Any other councillors? Well, I'm going to ask the councillors to come and line up along here at the back, and the students to line up in front, and I've got some presentations here to let you know how much we appreciated everything that you've done.
What you're going to do.
Councillors are standing on there, and you guys
That's right, where are you? I'm here. Oh, you're sorry, I landed. I tried.
Okay, this is, I just took the stickers off. This is Greg. In recognition of your dedication and leadership with the RH Cornish Future City Leaders Initiative, thank you for developing this project for your grade 6, 7, 8 students. It provides council an important youth perspective along with great ideas for the waterfront project. I'm pleased to present you. So pleased with what you've done. It's just wonderful. Thank you. And now to the students. Have we got a representative that would like to accept? All righty. To the RH Cornish Future City Leaders, thank you for sharing your ideas with the Township of Scugog Council for the Port Perry Waterfront Project. It provides council an important youth perspective along with great ideas for the waterfront project. Any parents want to come forward? Please do. Make sure you can see the camera, because if you can't see the camera, they can't take your picture.
Nice job. Congratulations for the gifts already.
Good job. Good job. Coming around, guys. Oh, yeah, I didn't know that. Congratulations, guys. Thank you. Very cool. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you for waiting. Yes. The rest of the presentation. Do we have the rest of the presentations or Council, while the room is clearing somewhat, we've been going at this for a few hours now, and how about we take a 10-minute break? And I'm sorry for those that are waiting, but I think a 10-minute break for everybody would be great. Thank you. We'll be returning at 10 after 8.
Thank you. I guess that's a hard act to follow. I'll try not to bore you. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Jake Farr. I'm the current president for PFLAG Canada Durham Region. So we support all people through their gender identity, gender expression, or sexual orientation challenges, including their families or allies. We also offer education resources to the greater Durham community to help with encourage inclusion and equity. Statistics indicate that approximately 10% of the population identify in the LGBT community. So looking at the township of Scugog, that'd be approximately 2,000 residents here would statistically identify in the LGBT community. So just a little bit about PFLAG so you understand who we are. We are a group of volunteers only. That's it. There's no money. We log over 20,000 hours of service in the Durham area, and we serve over 3,000 folks annually through all our programs that we offer. We have 10 ongoing monthly programs, and then we also run a summer camp. So there's a vibrant and hidden LGBT community here in the township of Scugog and in the Durham region. And I'm here to ask the township of Scugog be willing to stand up and acknowledge and show support for folks who are often marginalized, discriminated against, and mistreated in not only in their public spaces, but within their private spaces of their homes. A pride and rainbow crosswalk can be a lifesaver. It can be a symbol of acknowledgement that a community is seen and indeed welcome and included. We expect our homes to be a safe and where the heart is. This is where we are told by society that we learn about love and acceptance. However, for many who identify in the LGBTQ community, home can be very dangerous, unloving, and unaccepting. And it is this very society that tells us that home is where the love is also society that tells us that being who we are is wrong, disgusting, or evil, and that we are told we are second-class citizens who are less than those who do not identify in the community. We are often teased, mocked, physically assaulted, called names, and told that our existence in this world is not needed. For many who identify in the community, home can be dangerous and unloving and unaccepting. Suicide attempt rates in the LGBT community run 4 times higher than that of the general population. 33% have attempted suicide in the last year, compared to 7%. Trans-identified folks have even a higher rate at 47%. Being involved in the Durham LGBT community, I can confirm that we do lose folks every year. Do not underestimate that. We lose youth every year to suicide here in Durham. The LGBTQ community has another layer of oppression than other marginalized communities who have differing cultural, race, or ethnicity from that of the dominant society. When a youth comes home from school and they've had a bad experience of racism, culturalism, or xenophobia, they can come home to a family who most often represents them, resembles them, and can empathize with them, can build them up, give them the tools to work through these encounters. When youth from the LGBT community comes home from a homophobic or transphobic incident, they are often not encountering the same support. They may not even be openly and authentically themselves within their home, or being bullied and mistreated because the family knows of their identity. There is often not the same support across the board. The idea that a pride or rainbow crosswalk might offend others is usually based around faith. I'm most perplexed by this, as there are many churches, mosques, temples, and synagogues that stand as symbols of one's faith. These offer folks a symbol of inclusion and oneness with others. These are not seen as offensive, but rather as a positive affirmation for those who come to these spaces to feel a sense of unity, safety, and existence. A pride crosswalk will offer a symbolization to the LGBT community of inclusion, oneness, and belongingness within a city or municipality, and with the affirmation that they do exist, are valued, and are part of the intersectional fabric that makes the city unique and amazing. There are folks from every race, religion, cultural, faith, and ability who identify themselves in the LGBT community. No one is underrepresented. Local municipal governments can work to represent these residents, connect folks to other cultures, lives, abilities, and backgrounds. Diversity already exists in Scugog Township. All the different groups of folks who live here are like the ingredients. Inclusivity is where we mix them all together to make a beautiful cake. The township is the mixing bowl, and as you as the leaders, you can be the spoon to help combine the ingredients. Your leadership in inclusion is vital. Currently, Clarington was the first Durham municipality to have a road that was paved with a crosswalk. Then came Ajax, the region of Durham, and we have already been confirmed that Oshawa, Whitby, Pickering are on board and should have theirs up and running very shortly. I was just up in the township of Brock, and they've committed to doing one in Beaverton, Sunderland, and in Cannington. So we are seeing that everybody is coming up and understanding that this inclusion is possible for all of Durham. So I'm here to ask with deep conviction that the township of Scugog stand up with PFLAG and all those folks who identify in the LGBT community. I recognize that there is a physical cost to this ask, to which I would like to address as a community beautification project. No different than budgeting for annual flowers or holiday lightings. I ask you put forward in your budgetary means to approve a pride crosswalk to be installed and maintained as part of the city's commitment to inclusion and to show the LGBT community here that you are valued, you are seen, you are part of our diverse makeup, and without you, we are not complete. Thank you.
Thank you for excellent presentation. Are there any questions from council? Councilor Ross?
Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious where the crosswalk idea came from. We have flag raisings, we have DRPS cruiser with pride colors on them, the list goes on, and you see the crosswalks, but can you speak to where the idea for the crosswalk actually originated from and why it's been pushed forward?
Yeah, I can't say exactly what's been pushed forward, but what it's about permanent installation, right? So when we have a cruiser, and I've had the privilege of working with Inspector Podwin, and so like flag raising, like we don't leave the flag up all year, it's like raised for a week or a day or maybe the month, right? So what we're looking for is something that the youth can see on an ongoing, continual basis. So crosswalks have been notorious because people walk across them. You're walking on them. They're in a community. They're not hidden in some space that's like, oh, here's something for the community, right? So it's kind of like out in front, and it shows people that you're there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So prior to you coming today, there some general discussion, not necessarily here, but again, referencing the crosswalk. Is it, I guess I'll direct that to Director Coleman. is there any reason, based on what we've heard today, like Clarington, Ajax, all of the others are considering doing a crosswalk, is there any reason that we could not do a crosswalk?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, I do have some concerns about doing a crosswalk. My first one is pedestrian safety and potential liability for the township. There's the Ontario Traffic Manual that has the specifications for how a crosswalk should be, and they should be consistent, I believe, throughout the township, so there's no confusion for drivers or pedestrians, less likely for accidents to occur. And like the OTM says that the crosswalk lines should be solid white lines, 10 centimeters wide or 20 centimeters wide, extending across the pavement. Another concern I have is the cost. Our entire budget for line painting each year is $25,000. The cost for Clarington, I believe they spent $16,000. And I talked to the region of Durham today, and so far they've put it in a parking lot. They haven't put it on the road. And so far that they just did temporary paint, which is already wearing off, even though they just did it a couple of weeks ago. They said the cost for the permanent paint is about $9,000, and that's with their own forces installing it, which we don't have the ability to do. So typically you'd add, labor would double the cost, so it'd be about $18,000 to do what the region of Durham is doing. So again, that's most of our annual budget. Another concern I have is, while we already do support this group, community group, by raising the flag and making a proclamation each year, if we spend for Scugog a large chunk of money to show our support for this one group, there could be other groups out there, community groups, that say, well, if you're spending it for them, why won't you spend something for us as well? So we're setting a precedent, and while it's a good thing to do, it's something we might be able to afford to do. So those are my major concerns.
Further, Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And back to you, Jake. Have you heard of this concern at any of your other presentations at any of the other regional municipalities?
Yes, so I know that Clarington, they actually, it was $10,000 is what I was told, and they actually did a very specialized, it was like a rubberized, almost decal sort of application, so there wasn't just a standard paint. As far as like other costs, I know that Pickering is looking into it right now, and other places are already looking into it, so I can't speak to that because I think every council has their own procurement, their own labor costs, all those types of things. In all honesty, the other ones, as far as the MTO goes, or the Ontario, it does meet the requirements. They're in other municipalities. They're in Toronto. They're in Ottawa. They're already in Clarington. So there's no real safety. I hear what you're saying, but that's already been looked at, and they've been approved, right? So as far as that goes, I mean, I can't speak to costs, but I know that the city of Pickering is just looking into it, and they've already started to approve it because it wasn't going to be as costly as what some people have said it's going to be. And if I may address the fact around, if we do it for one group, we do it for all. You know, I sit here because I'm inclusive for everyone. My thing is why wouldn't we want to make beautification or installations for all people, our First Nations people, and other communities that are represented here in the township of Scugog. So it is a money outlay. I don't know if it's that kind of money, but I also say, why aren't we including the other groups as well?
And further, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, if I may, when the time's appropriate, I'd like to refer it to staff and the budget process.
Okay, thanks. Just so that you're aware, Jake, any expenditure of money is really important to us because 1% addition on the levy on taxes is $122,000. So even a consideration of $15,000 or whatever it is something that we have to consider very seriously. So, as we say, we're happy to raise the flag, happy to have a proclamation, but I think it's ideal. Maybe, if our staff has a concern about the public safety of having an actual crosswalk. Perhaps there's some other area that we could have it on some municipal property, but since there's a motion coming forward to refer it to staff and the budget, I think that would be appropriate, and we can look at how we can accommodate your wishes and stay within a reasonable financial situation for us.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm not here to break the bank. I'm just saying, like, and if you can't because of budgetary concerns, you know, if something can be looked at, that there could be another type of permanent installation that's not hidden away, that people can see, that would be a great thing as well. I mean, like the Region, they did it on their property, right?
Exactly.
And so it wasn't at like an official crosswalk, but I mean, maybe it's on your driveway. I'm not sure what that looks like, but maybe that's something that can look a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look into it. Do you want to is there any other questions? Go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your presentation, Jake. You are welcome here. I was asked by a friend from the LGBT community to champion this, and I think maybe that got this ball rolling a little bit. I just wanted to talk about the rainbow and the symbol. I had a good conversation with him this afternoon, and he really pushed forward to say, you know, the rainbow is used for inclusivity and inclusivity of all. And he talked about, you know, how it even represents sometimes now victims of abuse or people who are segregated in society for other reasons. So I can see, you know, although we're identifying it specifically for the LGBT plus Q plus community right now, it really represents a symbol of hope, of inclusivity for everyone. And that's why I was happy to champion it. Is that your feelings of that symbol as well, as the rainbow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has become notoriously, you know, prominent for the LGBT community, but it is about inclusion because, you know, each color means something, right? There's like love, acceptance, nature, all those things. So you're right. It does make about an inclusive statement. And it has just been recognized more in the last 50 years because of Pride.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake.
Councillor Ross?
Thank you. Just in discussions with concerns coming up with the crosswalk and cost, and then, you know, potential issues with it. Are there? And I really understand the importance of having a permanent infrastructure. You know, we have the cenotaph that's there, you know, for veterans, and I don't believe it's hidden away at all, and it's that symbol of pride and in a different way. And are there other examples of infrastructure that in the Durham area, or something that your group would be for, that you could perhaps suggest that wouldn't be a crosswalk, where it would, you know, kind of be that gray area with concerns on HGA regulations, and maybe in your answer you could also reference any fundraising that's gone on that we could achieve this goal, even if the stumbling blocks may seem too great at this time.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, the crosswalk has become, because it's out there, right? It's like, everybody can see it. Now, Ajax, they wanted to get something up and going, so what they did at the present is they actually painted a rainbow underneath a gazebo right on their property, the city of Ajax property, and so they painted a Pride colors underneath there, and so that was theirs. So as far as like another alternative, yeah, I think it is. It's about the permanency, right? It's about not just saying that that the community gets 1 month a year to be able to be out, right? And because I'm telling you from experience, I'm a counselor as well for youth, and there are many of them that see that, and it's like, okay, I'm still okay, I exist, because every day they're told that they're not supposed to exist, right? So it's about finding a spot. It's about finding a spot that's meaningful, not just let's just put it up someplace, right? So other people have done, like when they were redoing, like, what do you call it? Like the brickwork, they'll sometimes put the colored bricks in, so then it becomes part of that structure, right? So, you know, sooner better, but you know what? If it's going to take, you know, some time for you to figure out something, get a budget in, and figure out a really great place to put it, you know, we're going to be happy, and that 10% of your population could be happy, or more, because that's only the ones who are actually identified, not the ones that are hiding.
So it's not a crosswalk or bus necessarily. It's permanent infrastructure, have it visible, so that the connection's made. So when, you know, with the motion going forward, I don't know if we could include that into it. Okay, so that we could look at, you know, something beyond a wider scope, just so it wasn't as detailed. So
Yeah.
If that would be something that...
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be a
okay.
pathway, it could be something else, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Counselor Brown?
Yes, first of all, I want to say dignity and respect for all, Mr. Farr, and thank you very much for your presentation. I am one of those faith guys. I go to church, but I believe that dignity and respect is owed to everybody. That's the way it should be. I do have a question regarding the mayor of Goderich. Are you aware of his position on this? Okay, according to blackburn.com, I believe, which is a local newspaper chain out in that area someplace, he said or indicated that a rainbow crosswalk would be a step backwards. Kevin Morrison, who is openly gay, said it separates gay people from the community instead of including them. He says it doesn't bring the community together, but rather attempts to solve a problem that doesn't exist in Goderich. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Well, so my personal statement would be, if the people of Goderich don't think that there are LGBTQ folks in their community, they're being misled. As far as separating the community, I'm not really sure how that could come up. When you're trying to include people and show them that they exist and that they're recognized, I think that it can only bring people together, not separate them. So I'm not really sure what kind of statement that is around the separation. Yes, I mean, I'm sure some of you have heard that there has been graffiti, right? So maybe that's around what they're talking about, is what it does is it brings out those, homophobia and transphobia folks who decided they're going to deface the rainbow installation. Maybe that's where they're getting division from. But what I saw in Clarington is when someone did that, 300 or 400 people showed up and said, no, not in my community, you're not going to do that. And they rallied behind it, and they came out, and they had a party, and they chalked the streets, and they put love is love, and there was youth, and there was people who were 80 years old there. And they stood up, and they showed that the town of Bowmanville was inclusive, and that's not going to stop them. So I'm not really sure what they're trying to do with that separation. It's something that's being done across the world, so I've never heard that being put in that term before, honestly.
Thank you.
Any other questions of council? Okay, are you writing out some wording for that motion, or not?
I just go ahead and refer to staff in the budget process.
Okay. Councillor
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to refer the request from Jake Farr for a rainbow infrastructure, I will say, to be referred to staff and to the budget process.
And to receive the report.
And to receive his delegation.
Everybody
Thank you.
understand that? Seconder? Councillor Ross? Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Mr. Eccleston, finally. Welcome, Mr. Eccleston.
Thank you, Mary Drew, and spoken to you since the art site.
Button. Okay, I'm trying to condense a little bit of research I did into about 5 minutes. There's nothing esoteric about what I'm going to discuss. I'm here to discuss basically what was initially my road one night. It was a disaster, to the point I had to stop the car, drive on the shoulder. The road became impassable. Councillor Keys-Brink drove out on it and said to me, yes, it's like driving over railroad ties. The road became impassable to the point that we no longer had a traffic problem because no one could drive on Devitt's Road. Real estate agents in the area told me if we have properties to sell on your road, we direct them around the area. It literally discouraged buyers. People were saying, I love that house, but if that's going to be my road, I can't go there. So I'll read you my little spiel, and I did quite a bit of research, and none of this, I'm not trying to criticize staff or council or any particular sector. What I'm trying to do, this is our problem because it's a funding problem.
We do not, for rural roads, have enough funding because of their, like so many rural issues, they do not fall within the broader purview of how we think urbanly in terms of planning. So I'll read my thing now. My name is John Eccleston. I live at 4320 Devitt's Road in Blackstock. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today, and thank you all for taking on this responsibility of local governance. I'm not here to criticize the staff, council, or any particular sector. I'm here to advocate for Devitt's Road. Devitt's Road, to summarize, is inadequately constructed to tolerate its current uses. In 3 specific areas, totaling about 1 kilometer of its 8 kilometers, it is severely deteriorated. If these sections were renovated with an adequate base of aggregate and surface drainage, the road's overall condition would be much improved. To the town's credit, they did come out and spent 4 full days filling holes. So it's now actually drivable. Now, roads in Ontario are classified as classes 1 through 5 based on usage. What the classification criteria does not account for, to my knowledge, is the types of vehicles. According to studies, an 80,000-pound truck does the equivalent amount of damage as 5,000 cars. So if you have a large percentage of large trucks on your road, never mind that you only have 1,000 cars a day or 500 cars a day. If half of those cars are large trucks, you have the equivalent of each one of 5,000 cars. Now, an 80,000, okay, these are American figures because they only allow 80,000-pound vehicles. This is a surprise to me. Canadian trucks are permitted to be almost twice that weight. Almost twice. So Americans are clamoring to have their limits raised, their trucking industry, to what Canada allows, because we are way more lenient on what we allow on the roads. Let me see where I was here. Okay, Canadian trucks are permitted to be almost twice that weight. I'm not here to criticize the aggregate industry, but it stands to reason that a 5,000 to 1 ratio, any road that hosts a gravel pit is subject to reduced life, especially where the substructure is compromised. In addition to heavy trucks, Devitt's Road provides access to about 5,000 acres of productive agricultural land that is serviced by tractor trailers and today's large agricultural vehicles. This is not your grandfather's tractor and wagon. Some of the remediated sewage tankers are among the heaviest vehicles on Canadian roads. Now, how are we to pay for all this? Through the lobbying of TAPMO, which many of you are probably aware of, which is the top aggregate producing municipalities of Ontario. There's a levy on aggregate producers in Ontario, and it's 25 cents per ton of aggregate, which is distributed provincially, regionally, and municipally. By the time it gets to your level, you're not getting very much per ton of aggregate. It's worth noting that in Quebec, the levy is over 54 cents. In the United Kingdom, the levy is closer to $3.50 per ton. We were lucky. We've clamored. John Mutton is one of the mayors who really pushed for this over the years, and the aggregate community cooperates. At the same time, I discovered just recently the aggregate community lobbied with MPAC to no longer be classified as industrial lands. So you've lost its chunk of tax revenue, because now all aggregate in Ontario is classified as Class 5 farmland. So that cut, any gains from this per ton, 25 cents, was essentially wiped out when the aggregate producers lobbied MPAC and appealed to have their property tax bills slashed. So it's cost municipalities millions. I have in those pages there's a link to that. It is my inexpert recommendation that this council could focus its efforts on demanding more money from the region and province for rural roads to compensate for the heavy lifting they do in the agricultural and construction sectors. This would require a higher levy on aggregate, possibly, or a request for a levy on urban sewage tankers. So we're bringing these remediated urban sewage tankers, not coincidentally, the most deteriorated section of my road, the top of the hill from 57, is where they frequently stage these remediated sewage tankers. That's where they sit. And it's not hard to connect the dots. I'm not trying to criticize the agricultural sector. Everyone's trying their best. Unfortunately, no one is paying for the roads. So it's essentially, it's a municipal subsidy to agriculture in aggregate. And maybe we're fine with that. But at some level, probably at the provincial level, because most of the taxes are income taxes, some of the money needs to come back to these roads. In addition to agriculture in aggregate, the road is used as a commuter bypass south of Highway 7A to access Kawartha Lakes to the north and the GTA to the south. Devitt's Road is in the Greenbelt, the Oak Ridge is mooring. So there's nothing esoteric about Devitt's Road. There's no esoteric economic development coming there. There's not a lot that's hopeful. This is bare bones municipal governance, repair the roads. I'll try to finish quickly. And what, I'd love to have the girl from Cornish come and redesign the road in plastic. That would be a great project. So these environmental protected lands are officially designated in the region's official plan as green space. This designation alleviates the pressure. We're home to the East Cross Forest. This designation alleviates the pressure to provide areas of green space in more populated urban areas in the south. So we already have that. The region uses us to satisfy green space requirements in the official plan. And that's why I feel they have sort of a stake in looking after us a bit. The point I'm trying to make is that this municipal concession road does a lot more than provide access to the 30-odd taxpayers that reside on it. Given the development moratorium placed on our area by the agricultural and environmental protections and the prolific level of development both north and especially south of us, this 8-kilometer stretch of asphalt appears underfunded for its oversized role in agriculture, environment, and tourism, aggregate supply for development, and as a commuter route.
I'm going to have to
So
ask you to...
once again, thank you for listening to me. That's, if there's any questions, that's where I'm at on this issue.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Councillor Kieserbrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if I could just clarify, so on Devitt's Road, that's an access for there's a gravel pit there. Could you clarify that?
There's a gravel pit, which is originally owned by Martin Haulage, but it's now subcontracted out to another gravel company that moves a lot of the gravel north of us.
Further through you, Madam Mayor. So basically, there's, I think you said 3 sections of the road that are really critical, and would the residents be content if we could, at the very least, rehabilitate the section, or at the very least, the top of the hill piece?
Yes, because we are on the moraine. Much of our road is bulletproof. It has its own drainage, but there are sections that are swamp, and there are sections that they must have no aggregate under them, especially the initial section from 57. If any of you have the opportunity to drive out there, there is more cold patch than asphalt. There's literally no original asphalt in certain areas. You can see it. You can look up from 50, where Shirley Road ends, and you look up the hill. It's a solid mass. There must be 50 or 60 meters of cold patch dumped. Your works crews could tell you how much cold patch they distributed there. It can't be economical.
Any other questions? Councillor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, more directed towards staff. The roads need study that's coming up now, will it take into account the types of vehicles on the roads and not just the vehicle count and the speed that's coming up? Is that part of the process, the matrix that's put together?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, the roads need study will definitely take into account the condition of the road that's there right now. I'm not sure that it will specifically look at the types of vehicles on the road. When we have this section of road in our forecast right now for rehabilitation in 2023, which I know is farther away than any of us would like it, but we have a backlog of many roads that need to be done. When we do that, we will do geotechnical investigation, and we'll confirm if there's any aggregate below the road and if any more is needed. We'll do a design for that And when we do that, we'll also take into account any truck traffic. So we have traffic counts, and it tells us the volumes of trucks on a road, so we can consider that when we're designing the upgrade for the road.
Just further to that, so is that's something we could add on then later to the roads needs study if it's not covered? Because I know, John, on Schoolog Island, we have, agricultural equipment that comes up to, and we have a number of roads that have the same issue as far as, truck traffic, and we have the construction going on at the casino, and so and they're not all using Island Road, they're, moving around and coming through, so we have the same kind of breakdown of the roads and everything going ahead. So, so Director Coleman, that could be added as far as when we're actually looking at throughout all the roads, rural roads, as far as the increased number, not just the number of vehicles, but the actual weight and size and the impact that they actually have on the road. Is that right?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the Councillor, I can talk to our consultant and see if he is looking at truck traffic as part of his study now, and if it can be included. We wouldn't have data on the exact weights of vehicles on every road. We do know how many axles the trucks are, so we can make some assumptions. So I can talk to our consultant about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McDougall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. John, thank you for your presentation. I used to like to ride my bike over from this area over and back up through Blackstock and down across Devitts. Now, I haven't ridden it in about probably 18 months because it seems like it's patch on patch. Have you seen many bikes go by this year?
Fewer. There's fewer of everything at this point. People just don't want to literally, the real estate agents are discouraging people from using our road.
So fewer commuters as well from Kawartha Lakes?
Yeah, that is the advantage. Lately, you can sit out on our front deck now and not hear a truck or a car for hours when on a Sunday, say, because people, even local area residents say, I can't use Devitts Road. But unfortunately for those of us who live there, and there are people on this road whose taxes are over $10,000. I know that's a drop in the bucket when it's $1.5 million to resurface a kilometer of road, but it's happening.
Further to Director Coleman, would the Transportation Master Plan identify the truck traffic and the traffic coming from beyond?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Councillor, it looks at connections more than the specific vehicles using a road. It's a high-level study. It doesn't look at each road in really deep detail, but it looks at general connections throughout the township and whether or not 2 lanes is sufficient for the long term, that type of thing.
Further to you, Madam Mayor. So, I mean, given the commuter traffic tends to be coming across from Pontypool area, could this possibly be identified as a regional transportation route if it's carrying traffic from beyond the region?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we'll have to consider that in the study, and it sounds like part of the issue might be if we can find a way to discourage people other than potholes from using that route as a regional route, because they can turn on 57 and take 7A across, and if we could find a way to encourage people to take those roads instead, that would be good.
Further through you, Madam Mayor, if I might suggest, I used to cycle East Quarter Line down to Mount Joy from Devitts, and the solution was to remove the high float.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part?
If you remove the high float and return it to gravel, like that section, that might discourage it as well.
John doesn't look in favor of that.
Oh, no, I'm not. At this point, it became more than Devitts Road for me, because there's a point, like when I initially, I'd never complained about a road before. The worst pothole I ever hit was on Avenue Road, so it's not restricted to rural areas. What concerns me is more the funding issue. Like when I called, immediately they dumped 1/2 meter of asphalt in a pothole in my driveway before they did the rest of the road. Like, I don't want to be the squeaky wheel. Like, just because I pick up the phone and get 2 bags of cold patch in my driveway, that's not policy. We need a funding policy for rural roads that reflects their usage. A road with 500 cars a day in the city does not have 120 trucks that weigh 80,000 pounds. But we're still classifying our roads and our road design through engineering under those criterion. So we don't have a policy or a formula to address our infrastructure that's appropriate. That's my... Agriculture changed completely. We now have half a dozen farmers where you had 300, and they're using these roadways as farm laneways. That's what they've become. And not to any fault of the farmers, not to fault the de Youngs or the Fruits, they have to get to the leased land and rented lands and their owned lands. And these roads were never designed for this. These roads went from logging roads to being covered with being filled with gravel and then covered with asphalt. If what was under them was sand, which much of the moraine is, great, problem solved. But many of these roads were not actually designed. These are not designed roads, and moving forward in the future, it could take 40 years as policy, we need to start designing these roads to their actual usage, and that's what we're not doing.
Well, we are having a number of studies done this year that will prioritize the roads, and then we also look at what grants are available. And you'll be glad to know that we are on to the MPP and anybody that'll listen to us, that especially Greenbelt communities need to have extra points, if you will, when the grants are being awarded, because we do not have the ability to sustain ourselves and our infrastructure. So we are on that every chance we get. And
exactly. Yeah, I'm not viewing this council as an opposition, or I don't feel like, oh, you're neglecting us. We are being neglected. We are not that's not being factored, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, we definitely are. Any more questions, Councillor Watton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just if I might suggest further to my colleague's comment, I think it's very important that we consider the type of traffic that goes on these roads. I mean, I think if we're doing all these studies, and that's not being taken into consideration, I think we may be short-selling ourselves on the analysis. So, that's just my comment, and I would like it to be considered that we do look at the traffic. I mean, if there's a road that's on a gravel pit, and there's only one way to that gravel pit, you have to expect there's gravel trucks going to be using it. And you know, and the rural roads, like as John said, for the agricultural equipment, we have to take those into consideration as well. So I just hope that with these studies that we can do that.
Okay, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just through you, just in one last thing, I just want to thank you for coming, and we could have delegations lined up out the road for their own, for their own roads, because of the state that our roads are in, but it's a breath of fresh air to have someone sit here and bring it to light again, and not from a point of it's about me, it's about my road, but the broader picture of the roads are where they are now, and we need to keep on target as to fixing them for all the right reasons, for agriculture, for industry, for residents, for real estate, you name it. But I just want to thank you for coming and saying that, and not being, blinders on and it's all about debits, but to have the larger view of, the process we need to continue to move forward with the process. So thank you.
Yes. No, if you look at the issue and you do any sort of searches, it's a drop in the bucket. I'd like to think, I'm a demographic. I'm the average age, I'm the average income. You're looking at a pole sitting in front of you. This is where we are. It's all over North America. What do we do about the heavy trucks? And if it's 5,000 to 1 for 80,000 pounds, and we in Canada allow trucks of 130,000, 160,000 pounds, what do we expect? We are municipally subsidizing the trucking industry, and that's what it comes to.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Can I have a motion that the delegation by John Eccleston, re the Devitt's Road residents, be received? Councillor Kiesebrink?
Madam Mayor, if I could, I'd like to ask if we could make a couple of maybe I don't know how to word it, but for our director, with respect to our roads needs study, that we take into account the truck traffic as a part of this study, but also further to Councillor McDougall's point, if the road is so bad that there isn't traffic on it, it could actually come back in the study that there's not very much traffic, which would seem to indicate that it's a lower priority, but the opposite could actually be true. So I just would like for us to take these points into consideration with our roads needs study. I think the presentation today was very informative. Thank you.
Director Coleman, do you have a comment? Or did you take that as direction, or do we need to have a motion?
Madam Mayor, yes. Like I said, we do have general traffic counts that have percentage of truck and the general size of the trucks, and that, I believe that is being taken into study. It's more details of the exact weights of each of those trucks and everything. We might not go to that level of detail, but at a higher level, we are looking at the volumes of cars and the percentage of trucks as part of that, so that will be taken into account.
Okay, thank you very much. So, did I get a mover on that? Councillor Watton, seconder. Councillor Guido. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to Director Heritage. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem.
So you are going to give us an update, and we really appreciate that, because things change from week to week, and it'd be good for us to have a snapshot of how things are today.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the committee. Yes, you're correct. Things actually change from day to day.
Oh, yeah,
so this is a real snapshot as of today. Today, in terms of my presentation, I'm focusing on development projects, and as you know, the other side of the coin in terms of the planning section is we deal with a whole host of policy reviews. And I see that we're off to a good start with the waterfront strategic plan based on the presentations earlier tonight. But as I said, we'll focus on the current development projects, and the projects that I'm going to be highlighting do not include all the files that we review. I have not included land division applications in here or minor variance applications that the Committee of Adjustment deals with. I'm focusing on draft plans of subdivisions, zoning bylaw amendments, and site plan applications. So in terms of the presentation, it's divided into 5 sections. Dealing with the North Port Perry residential development applications, the South Port Perry residential development applications, other residential development applications that we have received throughout the township beyond Port Perry, non-residential development applications, and the 5th area are upcoming non-residential development proposals where we've conducted pre-consultation meetings but have not as yet received a development application. Okay, this is a map of North Port Perry and identifies the various residential subdivisions that are currently in process. The first one I'm starting with is Laloo Peninsula, which is located north of Canterbury Common, and it's a draft-approved draft plan of subdivision with 20 large lots. The proposal was to extend municipal water to service these lots. And the silt fencing has been installed and inspected. A security deposit for the silt fencing has been returned. However, the applicant is currently looking at other development options for this site. So that's currently being reviewed. The next one is Oxnard Development on Balsam Street. That proposal is for 16 underground links and 1 single detached dwelling. The statutory public meeting for this development was held in September of 2018, and the public open house was held in April of 2019. A recommendation report will be coming forward to PCNA in the fall of 2019, and to date, engineering drawings have not been submitted. This is on the north side of Balsam Street, east of Old Simcoe Road. The next development is also proposed by Oxnard Developments. It's a draft plan approved subdivision on the west side of Old Simcoe Road for 40 freehold townhouses. It was draft approved on May 27th, 2016, and the draft plan approval has been extended out to May 27th, 2022. We're dealing with the third version of engineering drawings, and they were just received, and this development is predicated on the extension of municipal services from the west, from Sherrington Drive, to be extended over to this draft plan of subdivision. Canterbury Common, Geranium Developments is proceeding with this development on a portion of the existing or former golf course lands. The proposal includes 99 detached dwellings, and on Block 100, which is located at the northern end of the property, east of Simcoe, there's anticipated a 4-story retirement home comprising both independent and assisted living units. The model homes are under construction on the north side of Coulter, which is at the south end of the draft plan, and they're almost completed, and it's anticipated that Geranium will start marketing the homes sometime in July this year, so next month. A subdivision agreement has been executed by the developer in the township. And I'd also like to bring to the committee's attention that a site plan application has been filed for the expansion of the Canterbury Community Centre. As part of the approval at the Ontario Municipal Board, Geranium agreed to provide for the expansion of the community centre with the new residents moving into the area, and they're also constructing a new swimming pool, a larger swimming pool on the east side of the community centre. Cockers Creek is located on the west side of Old Simcoe. It's divided into 2 phases. Phase 3A is located in the southern portion. It includes 32 links underground, and 37 detached dwellings. Phase 3B is to the north, and no construction has started on that to date. There are 4 links attached below grade and 64 detached dwellings. And for Phase 3A, building permits have been issued for approximately 25 homes. Now, in terms of the South Port Perry residential development, we've got a lot of activity happening in that area. Ribcor is located on the north side of Josephine, west of Union Avenue, and that includes 124 single detached dwellings, 129 detached dwellings. It was draft plan approved in September of 16, draft plan amended in August 18. Silt fencing has been put in place. We've received the final engineering submission in May of 19, and we're waiting for peer-reviewed comments before the township signs off. You can expect the movement of topsoil and fill to start on this site very soon. Some of the topsoil will be moved to our employment area at a landscaping business in our employment area, and the fill is anticipated to be moved to the Stockware site, which is immediately south of Canadian Tire, and some of the fill will also be moved to the Canterbury site. The Chieftain site is basically completely surrounded by the Ribcor site, which I previously discussed. It's at the intersection of Josephine and Union. The proposal there is for all single detached dwellings, 28 detached dwellings. There was a statutory public meeting held in September of 18, and we recently held a public open house in May of 19. To date, the engineering submission has not been received, and we've received a site alteration application recently. So there may be some fill being moved on this site as well in the near term. Mantflick and McDonald is located on the south side of Highway 7E, west of Old Simcoe. That proposal is for 37 condominium townhouses. Now, there were a number of applications that were associated with this site. There was an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment approved in June of 17. It was draft approved in August of 18, and they've recently submitted a site plan application. And their first engineering submission was received, and the township has provided its comments on the site plan. Dell Park, we just recently held a public open house on Dell Park in May of 2019. That is located on the north side of King Street, east of Union Avenue in Prince Albert. The proposal's for 212 single and semi-detached dwellings, 48 street townhouses, and the 48 street townhouses are located in the southern end of the draft plan. There's also a block of condominium townhouses to the southwest. It's 47, and the engineering submission is not yet received. This draft plan of subdivision is in its early stages, and the applicants have taken back the comments received at the public open house and will be revising the draft plan. Holland Homes is another draft plan of subdivision that's also located in Prince Albert. It's located on the south side of King Street. The Ontario Municipal Board in March of 17 approved 25 single-detached dwellings and a stormwater management pond at the southern end of the draft plan. We have received the fourth engineering submission, and as part of this draft plan of subdivision, Holland Homes is proposing to extend the sanitary sewer from Josephine and Union south along Union down to King Street to service this site. And recently there was a public open house with the residents on Union Avenue to discuss the Union Avenue profile, whether it be a rural profile or an urban profile. And I think the consensus was to proceed with an urban profile subject to budget constraints. The next development, I had previously mentioned this, is King's Landing, or Stockworth, located south of Canadian Tire, east of Simcoe Street, north of Euler Drive. Now, that proposal includes 248 condominium residential units in the four buildings to the east, and there's about 100,000 square feet of commercial and office that will front on Simcoe Street and at the corner of Euler Drive and Simcoe. There's the proposal right at the corner of Euler and Simcoe, combination of office and retail. And there's some elevation drawings for the commercial buildings that are fronting onto Simcoe Street. Now, as you may be aware, the Stockworth Developments is building their sales pavilion, and that's under construction right now, immediately on the east side of Simcoe Street. It's anticipated that the sales pavilion will be ready for sales sometime in October, and they'll be marketing their units at that point in time to test the market. NB Residential is another draft plan of subdivision in Prince Albert. The proposal is for 11 single-detached dwellings, and this is to proceed on partial services on municipal water and private sewage systems. However, in this case, the servicing method has not yet been resolved for septics. That is something that's in discussion with the applicant and the Durham Health Department. Now, developments that are outside of Port Perry, there's one development in Epsom, and that proposal is for 17 single-detached dwellings. It was formerly known as Philo Investments, and the township is waiting for the region to sign off on the final engineering submission, so that's fairly close in terms of proceeding. That's a draft-approved plan, and that was draft-approved some time ago. We have 3 residential draft plans of subdivision on Scugog Island. They're all draft-approved subdivision applications, 23 estates. There's a proposal for 15 single-detached dwellings on Spring Boulevard, and revisions are required to that supporting documentation that was previously submitted, so that will be coming in soon. 17300 Island Road, we've just received the first engineering submission, and that's being peer-reviewed. We've also just received their stormwater management report, and that came in today, and we're reviewing that. Henley Story, we're dealing with the third engineering submission, and that's currently being reviewed, and that's for 13 single-detached dwellings. 17300 is for 16 detached dwellings, so there's a lot of activity happening on the island. Nestleton Station, Williamson Draplana subdivision, that was draft approved some time ago. However, they have submitted a revision to comply with the approved zoning on the property. They had received approval for 29 single-detached dwellings, and they've revised their application to 36 single-detached dwellings, so they've increased the number by 7 to match the existing zoning on the property. Now, turning to non-residential development, the Greenwood Mushroom Farm, they're currently constructing a building, an additional building of 150,000 square feet. And it will employ, the total development will employ 10 full-time and 110 part-time staff. And the reason for the large number of part-time staff is depending on the growth of the mushrooms within the facility and when that staff is needed to pick the mushrooms. Peter Verschoen at 12 Easy Street, he has submitted a site plan application. It's a one-story, 13,000 square foot industrial building for contractors yard cartage row, and that will be for the repair and maintenance and parking of associated vehicles and the stormwater management pond to the west. Taylor Ford, that has been outstanding for some time. It's a proposal for a new dealership on the south side of Highway 7A across from the Smart Center development. That was formerly owned by Smart Centers, and they sold the property to Taylor Ford. They've been waiting for the approval from MTO for some time. MTO, as you know, has jurisdiction over Highway 7A, and in terms of access points and signalization and turning lanes and that type of thing, all have to be approved by MTO. So the proposal includes a service department and accessory car washing building, and it's anticipated that we'll see something moving on that in the fall of this year. Woodland Mills, they are currently located within an employment area to the north, just south of Reach Street, and they've acquired a site that fronts on Scugog Line 6 in our employment area. And they're proposing 1,136 square meter one-story industrial building for the manufacturing of portable sawmills. They're quite an operation. There was a tour last year or the year before of this facility, and they make their own portable sawmills there, and they're transportable, so they're doing quite a healthy business at that location, and they're leasing that facility, and they want to build their own building in our employment area just to the south on Scugog Line 6. Another non-residential development has been submitted by James Taylor. It's a site plan application, and that's located at Northport Road and Reach Street at the southeast corner. The proposal is to construct 2 industrial buildings, including 1,060 square meters, together with a 240 self-storage unit facility, and that's currently under review at this point in time. Now, developments where we've had pre-consultation meetings, and actually on this development, formal announcement, we're still awaiting a site plan application. This is the hotel on the Sunnybrae Golf Course. Comfort Inn is coming to the Township of Scugog, and the proposal is for 72 rooms. And the actual site is to be located at the northwest corner of what is shown in yellow or orange on this map. It will be serviced on private services, private well and private septic and tile field facilities. So we're awaiting the site plan at this point in time. Adamson Engineering is located, the existing facility is located on the north side of Line 6, and they're planning an 80,000 square foot expansion with the intent for 3 further expansions, 2 to the north of the proposed expansion and 1 to the south, all comprising a floor area of 40,000 square feet. So it is a substantial expansion that we're looking at in our employment area that's focused on the manufacturing of speakers, of major speakers that are sold throughout the world. And once completed, Adamson Engineering anticipates they'll employ up to 280 staff on site. So we're awaiting that site plan application as well. And finally, the Oak Ridges Hospice. I guess everybody's familiar with that site on the south side of Highway 7A, Scugog Street, where the former Immaculate Conception School was located. It's been demolished, and the proposal is to construct a 10-bed hospice, and they're considering other future land uses on that site. There's certainly room for future development, and we actually have a further meeting coming up with them next week to discuss those options. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Director Heritage.
It's keeping us a little busy.
Well, now we understand why you can't find the top of your desk.
That's true.
I will be, will you be forwarding that presentation to us, on...
Yes, I can.
Yeah,
yes.
That would be great, for us to refer to. Questions? Councillor Guido.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Heritage. Thank you for reviewing all the developments in Ward 2 that are coming. But I'm going to ask a question about Lalu. One of the first ones you referred to said other development opportunities for the site. What can you expand on that? Does that mean they're no longer entertaining homes in there, or what is the...
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor. We had a meeting with the principals a couple of weeks ago, and they're exploring, they want to retain it as residential development, but they're looking at the possibility of perhaps increasing the density a little bit to increase the unit yield on the property.
So if that changes, does that need to go back through the approval process again?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be a full public consultation process.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Brown?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Director Heritage, thank you for the presentation. How does this large, appears to me anyway, to be a very large slate of homes that are going to be built and stuff on the employment land is going to be done? How does this compare with other years in terms of growth, in terms of things being planned and things being built? Are we having a great year? Is this going to be a great year that way in terms of planning, or?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, a lot of these developments will roll out over different time periods, and as I indicated, for example, the Stockworth development, they are constructing their sales pavilion, and they're going to test the market. Nobody knows what the market's like at this point in time for condominium development. It may be relatively slow, they may sell out fairly quickly. We don't know at this point in time. So even though that I've presented all these applications that are outstanding at this point in time, I think they're going to roll out at different times, and a number of them, as I indicated, are located within the urban area, so they're going to require servicing as opposed to others that are outside the urban area that will be developed on private services. Thank you.
Well, we were paralyzed for a number of years because we didn't have the sewage capacity, so some of the developments that were featured tonight have been waiting for like 15 years. Mm-hmm. So anyway, now we've got the sewage capacity, and now they're progressing. So, Director Heritage.
No, just a further point on that. In terms of the non-Corinth sewage treatment plant, there was a recent expansion to that will accommodate additional development. The other potential constraint is the Water Street Pumping Station, and as you know, the region is undertaking a Class EA to explore various alternative sites for an expanded Water Street Pumping Station. There is limited capacity within that station now before it's expanded, but there is capacity available. And that sewage treatment or pumping station will hopefully be constructed in the next 4 years after they go through the EA and the detailed design. So as these developments roll out, there will be sufficient capacity to accommodate them.
Councilor McDougall?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Kevin. As you know, most of these people seem like they want to build like next week or next month as they come in here.
Can you speak up?
Sorry. It seems like most of these people want to build next week or next month when they come in and talk to you or when they reach out to me. On the sewage treatment issue, if we have all of these units move ahead, not that they will occur at the same time, will the upgrades need to be done to the station before we can fulfill all of these units?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the Councillor. There is, as I indicated, potential capacity in the existing Water Street Pumping Station to accommodate some development. I've heard from the region it's between 1,000 and 2,000 people that can be accommodated under the existing situation, and then additional capacity will be accommodated with the expansion of the facility.
And then with the treatment plant itself?
The treatment plant itself has a significant amount of capacity at this point in time, and there is the potential to further increase that capacity at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Yeah. Mr. CAO?
If I could, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to indicate that this presentation is provided both for council's information and for the public. I'm sure you, as we have and do receive many inquiries about the developments happening around town. This presentation will be posted online, and we will have a banner directing residents to this presentation, and there's a further presentation coming for council next week on roads and infrastructure update, highlighting the many road projects that are being carried out this year in Scugog. And despite what we heard this evening from the resident, we do have a plan, we do have a funding strategy, we have several reports and strategies underway, as you know, the State of the Infrastructure Strategy, Master Transportation Plan, and the Active Transportation Plan. I guess our difficulty does come in terms of funding from others. And if that gentleman was to focus his intention, probably should be more at the province or the region where assistance is needed. But I think without raising taxes significantly, we're doing a pretty good job of addressing our needs, and we'll be able to show that what's happening in Scugog at the next meeting for the residents and council.
I'd just like to add to that we don't actually have the capacity in our staff resources to take on any more right now either.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We don't have the capacity from a human resources perspective, nor from a financial perspective, and I'm hoping that people realize that the finance of a municipality needs to be balanced. We already put 53% of our total budget into roads, and we need to keep up with the other areas in the municipality, facilities, parks, vehicles, and I think at the moment there's a good balance of that.
Thank you very much. Thank you again, Director Heritage. That didn't take you 5 minutes to do that report. We really, really appreciate it, that update. It's great to have.
I would like to give credit to Lindsay Burnett, too, in helping put that presentation together.
Please pass along our thanks.
Thank you.
Motion to receive the development application update by Director Kevin Heritage, Director of Development Services, be received. Councillor McDougall, Councillor Guido, all those in favor? That's carried, thank you. And now we have Chief Mark Burney with, he's going to talk a little bit about the annual activity report. The staff report is on page 102. Please proceed.
Let's try that again. Thank you, Mayor Drew. Council, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to provide a brief, and I stress brief, 2018 annual report presentation. Annual reporting to council and the community falls under strategic direction number 4, municipal services, as well as establishing and regulating bylaw for the fire department. Real quick, who we are, our vision, our mission, and our values, I believe coincide quite nicely with the vision, mission, and values of the corporation. As an organization, we need principles that help guide our staff, and we hold each other accountable to, and we do that. And I believe if you were to look at the two of them, you'd see some similarities. Our visions have changed as a result of our bylaw, and it better reflects the work of staff, in that we have an administration division, an emergency response division, so to speak, fire safety education standards and enforcement, training and professional development, and asset management. And when I talk about assets, I'm talking about our buildings, our equipment, and our fleet of vehicles. Quickly, with respect to some of the things we do in the community, fire safety education is the first line of defense. We are popular in the community. The community wants us out there, and they're asking for us more and more every day. Last year, we participated in 30 community events, and this allows us the opportunity to deliver our fire safety, CO, and emergency preparedness messaging. Some of them, as I've listed here, Aboriginal Day, Agricultural Day, the Cartwright Fields Fall Festival, the North Division Community Safety Day. This year, we're tripling our attendance at the North Division Community Safety Day. They want to make it bigger and better, and of course, they've called on the fire service. So, our CO and smoke alarm program. Last year, we really focused on the area that the Township of Uxbridge assists us with in providing services. I was a little disappointed. 54% of the dwellings entered were compliant, and that is very disappointing when you take into consideration. And I'm going to use some 2016 census data. We have 8,200 homes, or approximately 8,200 dwellings. 55% of them were built in 1976 or earlier. In 76, and I use that date because that's when smoke alarms, at least one, was required in your home in the bedroom area. And then when you look at the overall from 2006, 93% of our buildings, or our dwellings, have been built from 2006 going back in time. And you know, they should have smoke alarms in every level, right? And that's the law today, every level of your home and outside your sleeping areas. But again, we're not there. We have an old building stock, unfortunately, and it's challenging for our staff. From a standards and enforcement perspective, inspections are here, whether we inspect as a result of complaint or request. You know, our goal is to ensure that the fire code is being applied regardless of the building type or the building use. We're looking for hazards, and we're looking for violations to the building code. When we do our inspections on an annual, semi-annual, and then a more regular basis, maybe 3 or 5 years, obviously we include some vulnerable occupancies. Actually, VOs are inspected twice annually, and then depending on the risks within the building, we look at the building a little bit differently, maybe more annually and what have you. Last year we did 217 inspections or re-inspections, plans reviews, and then our fire prevention officer does go out and inspect oversized burning licensing. So. Emergency response, something a little different for you to look at this year in the report. We really dug down to see how the department is responding. I didn't get right into the depth of response when it comes to the fire demand zones for all calls in general. I looked in general at calls, and we're doing pretty good. 6 minutes and 45 seconds to assemble staff from the time they're being alerted till the truck is moving. isn't so bad. I would like to be obviously a lot better, maybe in that 4.5 minute range. The number of 4.2 firefighters on a truck every time a truck rolls out, I like that. That's good. And the fact that we can assemble 15 to 17 firefighters at a residential fire scene, I like as well. Sometimes we're a little challenged with some of the other calls that we do, whether it be the medical calls and what have you. I can't tell you exactly why. I'd only be speculating, and that wouldn't be fair to my staff. But you know, our bread and butter is putting out fires, and we have a good turnout, and I'm happy with that. These next couple pages, again, we're continuing to look at emergency response, and now we're kind of looking at a 3-year graph here. This chart illustrates some consistency in the first 5 months of 2016 and 17, but then it's all over the map with the number of calls in the per month view here. And then you see in 2018, we're just all over the map, period. There's no consistency at all. I don't know quite how to interpret that. You know, I think perhaps as we continue to respond and look at calls over the next 4 and 5 years of me being here, then you know, maybe we'll see a little bit more consistency in the monthly charts. What I can tell you is it seems in the last couple of years definitely we seem to slow down a little bit just before Fire Prevention Week, and I'm happy about that. So. The next graph, again, it's a 3-year summary, and I apologize that you got to read the response types a little on a 90-degree there, but that's important for you to be able to view them and see what they mean to you from a response perspective. You can see a lot of similarities here in the 3 years: fires, burning complaints, CO false calls, false fire calls. The dips you see for medical resuscitator, other, and rescue, that's as a result of change in how we report the calls. Before I came, which would be the 2016 data, a lot of medical resuscitator and rescue calls were put under other, as in assisting other agencies. To me, that's fundamentally wrong, so we changed our process, and now in 17 and 18, you can see the more similar volumes in the different response types. As I told you, I believe in our presentation and in our budget deliberations, obtaining a tanker shuttle accreditation or renewing it in Port Perry and obtaining it for Caesarea is one of our priorities. And this graph here shows you the residential fires we had in 2018. And in the blue dotted circle, which represents for the most part 8 kilometers by road from the fire station here in Port Perry, what dwelling fires were within that accredited zone or that accredited area, which again is 8 kilometers by road. When we're to achieve accreditation in Caesarea, you'll see that 2 of the fires that they were the primary response to last year would have been within that 8 kilometer by road. Okay. And I will note that we do respond to both stations to fires, okay? Unfortunately, the 8 kilometers, it would encapsulate most of the island, but we'd have to build a bridge to make it 8 kilometers by road, right? So, the next one is training and professional development. A lot of work has been going on here through Clint and Clint's leadership in this, or in his role. Web-based training has become the new norm, especially when it comes to our recruit staff. In 2018, I can tell you most all staff trained at least 85 hours in the year, some more depending on what they were doing, whether it be obtaining their officer accreditation or some other type of training skill that we needed them to. In 2017 recruits last year also participated and obtained their level 1 certification training. This year they just did their actual tests, and in that school we had a great success there. So right now, as it stands, 75% of our firefighters are all certified to level 1, and our goal is before the end of this year to have them to level 2. And then our officers, 75% of our officers are trained to level 1. It's a little more challenging with our officers because they have to obtain their firefighter accreditation before they can go on to their officers. So I guess in a nutshell, we're doing really, really well getting caught up and becoming accredited or certified as firefighters. So I'm quite happy with that. And then again in 2018, we did a recruiting for Caesarea, and they're presently being trained. Asset management, a couple things happened in 18, as you know. We put the tanker 61 into service. We had purchased that late in 2017, had to do some significant training with it and in preparing staff to utilize it. Also put a used pumper that we purchased from Markham into service. Replacement of our SCBA's was huge for the department and huge for the safety of the firefighters, and I thank you for that support. Also, a number of pieces of equipment were put into service. I won't get into all of them. Some work at the stations, water softeners installed here in Port Perry. We repaired the well at Caesarea, garage doors, a water heater replacement. A lot of things happening in bringing our building and our resources up to a level that we're satisfied with through our modernization. I'll just give you a little bit of a history lesson here in this graphic, unless somebody else can tell me. No? Perfect. So, in the old days, I'm not a history buff, believe me, but I do love some of the fire ones. In the old days, when a horse-drawn fire wagon came back from a call, they rinsed it because it was horse-drawn. And then they also pushed it back into the station, again, because it was horse-drawn. I'll leave your imagination to the rest of it, especially the rinsing part. A couple things in administration. Again, we've got 25 of the 42 recommendations completed from the 2017 Fire Master Plan. This year, we're going to work hard to achieving the remaining 17 recommendations. A lot of them have to do with fire prevention, creating cycles or ensuring that the cycles are adequate, procedures for defensive and offensive attack, maintaining our comprehensive training program, and fire safety plan review and approval, to name a few. The other things that I'd like to note is with the efforts of senior staff, we did achieve our compliance in 2018 from Emergency Management Ontario, or OFM-EM. And also a gentleman who's put 20 years of service into his community retired, and it hit a soft spot in my heart. This gentleman, had retired from work, but he still was very passionate about serving the community as a firefighter, and he put it as much time as he could until his wife said, enough's enough, we need to spend more time in Florida, and I quite like Don, and actually Don still uses the gym, so, yeah, it's cool. That is my brief summary. I would offer anybody, if you would like to, look at the report a little more thoroughly with myself, and by all means, I'd address any concerns or questions you might have. Unless you have some now, then, yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations on achieving 25 of the recommendations out of 42 in Fire Master Plan.
Thank you.
Quite an achievement. Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions?
A lot of work.
Councillor Watton, Councillor Keith-Brady.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, when you referred to the wish list, or the 4 or 5 minute rival assembly, is that a realistic thing, given that we're volunteers and the distances to travel to get there? I mean, it's great to have that, to strive for it, but is it a realistic?
Through you, Madam Mayor, as you'll see in the report, I broke that type of data out into the 2 stations.
Right.
And I would say yes, 100% here in Port Perry, that should be achievable. In Caesarea, it could be a challenge, yes.
Do volunteers have to live within a certain distance of a fire hall?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
I know they used to. Do they still have to?
Through you, Madam Mayor. I would suggest if we did, we wouldn't have many volunteers in Caesarea, and we'd be challenged to have a full hall here in Port Perry, simply because, again, the station's in an older area, and, the younger generation that used to serve it, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. That station's been there since 1961-ish. You know, a lot of those people are still there, including a former fire chief still living right beside the firehouse. So the older demographic is still there, and unfortunately it's challenging for us to impose a hard and fast, you must live within 1.5 kilometers or you can't get on. We won't have firefighters, and I won't be able to keep my promise to you to continue to pull from the population as volunteers here, so.
Councillor Keith-Ring?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So how are we doing with the volunteer firefighters? Do we have a good retinue of a good team in place, or do we need more people?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'd love more people, lots of them. But, no, to be honest, for the first time in a very, very long time, as I've been told, Caesarea, when these new recruits come online, will have more firefighters than Port Perry. Yes, so that's, I would suggest that's as a result of our recruiting program and the work of one of my colleagues, and getting the message out to the population that we need volunteers. And I would suggest, with the 30 firefighters assigned to each hall that we have approved by council, plus a buffer of 5, it's a good number. It really, really is. In Caesarea, it usually or shouldn't pose us any problems with getting all of our fleet out. Here in Port Perry, we might be a little challenged and have to be selective in filling a truck to get that resource to a scene. So I'm comfortable right now.
Further?
Could you tell me about the self-contained breathing apparatus? You said that was an accomplishment at the start of your report.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. The new SCBA took us from having 30 minutes of breathing, if you can breathe optimally on your back, so to speak, or available to 45 minutes. So I know the 15 minutes might not seem like much, but inherently what that's given us is an opportunity now to cleanse ourselves, so to speak, with breathing apparatus still on. It used to be very traditional. You'd come out of a fire, sooty and smelly, and particles of the burn coming off you, and you're pulling your face piece off, and you're not decontaminating, whether it be just through a gross decontamination, a rinse, or being scrubbed. Now we have that opportunity to keep the BA on, do a gross decontamination before we remove our breathing apparatus. So it was a very good move, and again, I applaud council for allowing that to happen.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having the fire trucks out at the Caesarea Hall when we had the community hall open to the public, and they were showing the new appliances and everything. It was a great turnout that day, and I think people really enjoyed walking through the fire hall. One of the comments was that people didn't realize that it was actually a working fire hall, because it looks historical. So it's nice to walk through the place and see how, perfectly all the boots are all lined up and everybody's ready to go. It was a great experience, so thank you for that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you again. That's a great report, Ed. I'm sure, I know recently we had from a constituent a number of questions, and I thought, oh, how timely is this? You can see the report.
I don't mind answering questions, respectfully, and I believe that the gentleman was true to heart and was worthy of the responses.
Thank you again. Motion, please, that the presentation 2018 Annual Activity Report by Mark Burney, Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief, be received. Councillor Guido, Councillor Brown, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, out of here. So now, we've just got 2 reports, I think. Yeah. The Fuel Management Contract Award, 11.4, page 88. What's page 88? Do we have anybody presenting this, or not? Any questions? Move it. That the report, Fuel Management System Contract Award, be received, and that the installation of fuel management systems be awarded to Phillips Petroleum Maintenance in the amount of $34,658.24, including HST, be approved. Moved by Councillor Watton, seconded by Councillor Kesebrink. Questions, comments? Questions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Brief question on page 89 of our report. It says this will enable the township to closely supervise where the fuel is going. Who will be doing that supervision? Is that the manager of Public Works and Parks, or who will be doing that task?
Director?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the councillor, the way the fuel system is set up, it's what closely monitors it. It all goes under a computer system, and we can know everybody that took fuel on what day and what vehicle they put it into. So it's an electronic monitoring system is how it's done.
Oh, okay, so for the Port Perry Depot, it's already installed, correct?
That's correct.
So is this something that you review on a monthly basis or weekly, or is it?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, it's something the manager works with finance just to keep track of what the fuel usage is. He probably looks at more of a monthly basis than a weekly basis, and definitely annually he'll look at, if there's an anomaly, if fuel is being used where it shouldn't be used, can we improve on it? It also really helps to improve the security of the fuel, that no one can go to the fuel tank and take fuel for a non-township vehicle, or someone that doesn't work for the township can't take fuel.
That's great. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any further questions? What page is that, 90? Did we get a mover and a seconder on that one? We did, okay. All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. Now we're moving to page 93. This is a memorandum of understanding with the Scugog Council for the Arts. And we have a third recommendation. You got that here? I'll get you to read that. Any questions or comments on the report? Is anybody going to address this? You want to? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to point out to Council that after the agenda was posted, I did receive some additional comments from the Scugog Council for the Arts, so I just wanted to bring that to Council's attention so that I can, I'll include these comments in the version that'll come forward to Council next week. So just for everyone's information, they had requested two things. One, that they no longer refer to themselves as the SCA. So they said that whether they could substitute Scugog Arts instead of SCA. So I'll do that throughout the MOU. They also requested that the purpose change to read, and this is what it will read. I have no concerns with these changes, so this is what they requested. Scugog Arts will occupy a portion of Unit G1, 181 Perry Street, Port Perry, where to the artists, residents and visitors to our township, Scugog Arts is the integral leadership organization engaging people, organizations, and government with resources and opportunities, serving to enrich our lives through the arts, fulfill our artistic and creative potential, and contribute to economic development and cultural tourism. Scugog Arts strives to maximize our contributions to the vibrancy and quality of life in our community as we support art for art's sake. So that's just within the purpose section. Doesn't actually change any of the terms or conditions, so just bring that to Council's attention. Unless Council have any objection to those changes, I'll bring that forward in the version that comes forward for approval next week at Council.
So
thank you, Madam Mayor.
Their legal name is still a Scugog Council for the Arts, but referencing throughout the proposal or MOU or whatever, it will be referred to as Scugog Arts. Is that what it is, Scugog Arts?
That's correct, yeah, exactly. The Scugog Council for the Arts is the registered business name. They simply refer to themselves as Scugog Arts, and that's been requested to be changed to SC instead of SCA.
Okay. Would you read the third recommendation? Just so that it is clear to both parties.
It was provided to me that the report be received and that the bylaw appended attachment 1 to report CRP 2019-013 be approved and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and execute the memorandum of understanding with the Scugog Council for the Arts, and that in accordance with Section 17 of the MOU, the township is providing notice to the SCA, Scugog Arts, of termination of this memorandum of understanding, and as such, the memorandum of understanding shall end and Unit G1 be vacated as of June 30, 2020.
Questions or comments on the report or the recommendation? Kind of a mover for the recommendation first. Councillor McDougall, seconder. Councillor Brown, questions?
Do we need to move the report to put it on the table first?
I beg your pardon?
Do we need to move this first?
I just
Oh, we just did, oh, I thought that was a recommendation, sorry.
Well, that is a recommendation. You're moving the
The
recommendation.
third recommendation,
You're
okay.
still agreeing to move the recommendation?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Question, on page 90, page 96, it talks about an agreement where the BIA will share the space for $4,800 a year, leaving the township responsible for $5,700 a year. Should this be mentioned in their recommendation, since we're looking for a second party to share that space?
JP?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Council gave approval at the last council meeting, or the one before, for the BIA to share that space, so that part has already been approved. And hence this MOU says just a portion of Unit G1, because council approved the BIA going in there to use the other portion, I guess. So should, further, through you, Madam Mayor, so should the Scugog Council for the Arts decide that they don't want to use this space, is the BIA still using that space?
Mr. Cieo?
Madam Mayor, yes, I was going to add that the BIA has indicated that they've only committed to a month-by-month lease. And I think that we don't have a long-term commitment, and we understand that month-by-month may not us if they come together with the chamber on a suitable arrangement.
Further?
No, that's good for now, thank you.
Councillor Guido?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because we don't have the third motion or recommendation in front of us, did it say that we're giving them notice that effective June 30th, 2020, they're to vacate? Is that what I understood?
Yes.
And is this news to them, or?
No.
No, so they're aware. Okay,
Right,
thank you.
they're aware. They're not aware that okay, sorry, I thought that they were.
So this would be our format for notifying them, is in a
Well, we will have
council
a
meeting?
discussion with them before, when we present this, but they have been told for a number of years that we will be needing that space within the next year or two, so. It shouldn't come as a surprise, but in this MOU, I thought that they had been told that, but they will.
Okay, thank you.
If I could, Madam Mayor, maybe just to clarify a bit, the MOU does indicate that it's for 12 months, so it's only for 12 months. However, there's a 6 months notice clause that's in the MOU that if this motion wasn't passed, the township would have to give 6 months notice if the township was interested in using the facility for something different. This recommendation gives notice that the 12 months is all that they're going to be entitled to, thereby already giving the 6 months notice, only making it 12 months notice. I don't know if that helps explain, but that's the way the MOU is set up now. 1 year, 6 months notice.
If I may, Madam Mayor, yes, thank you, and I appreciate that. I just would have thought that perhaps a conversation would have been had prior to it being discussed at council, but again, if they're aware that it's coming or knew that it eventually would come, then...
They certainly knew that an MOU was coming.
Right, yes, yep.
Councillor Ross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is it worth postponing this just till next week so that we can have a conversation with the School of Arts to inform them of this? Will the week affect it, given that we're giving 12 months for a 6-month notice?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to council. Effectively, you have a week notice anyway, because this is just committee, so it'll be approved at council next week. This won't be approved as of today. So as of tomorrow, I can certainly provide the Scugog Arts the resolution passed by council tonight, and they can certainly come and speak to council on Monday if they choose to.
Okay, and what's the reason for the late addition of the third note on the report?
Just that I particularly and the deputy mayor felt that we should make it very clear, because although it is a 12-month MOU rather than like a 5-year lease or anything like that, that we wanted to be clear that it is a 12-month notice.
Okay, so just to be clear, that it was added in the last, since Wednesday, that decision was made, that it wasn't on here?
We discussed it this morning during the meeting when we go over the agenda, and I thought it was advisable to just make it clear. So we added that. Okay. Councillor Kieserbrink?
Sorry, can I just clarify something? Sorry. So what we're doing right now is that we're just receiving this report, but I would stand with Councillor Guido in that I don't think it's appropriate to have us pass anything at this point. So we're receiving this report, but it's going to be passed in council next week. Is that correct? Or ratified?
It was hoped that it would be ratified at council.
Right.
But that's why there's a committee meeting and then a council, because if there's sober second thought, you can turn down a recommendation from a committee. Okay? So it's not final. It's just, this is recommended to council.
Yeah, no, my worry wasn't the finality of it, but was the notice to the Scugog Arts Council that this is happening, even though they are aware that it was a 12-month, but this is just, yeah.
Okay. Councillor Kieserbrink?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering, what is the planned use for the space? Are we giving notice? I guess the month-to-month is in place for the BIA, so that doesn't, I guess it's okay for them, but what would be the planned use in June of 2020, when this is expired?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The municipality does have an intended use for the space, and we've always considered that space a place where our finance department could be relocated to when the time came and the Arts Council vacated the space. As you know, the finance department is in the basement right now, and it's not the best environment for them down there. There's some dampness, there's been some personnel issues associated with that, and there's a desire to try to have them located to a better space. If the Arts Council was to leave that space, or council deemed that was best that space be made available, our plans would be to bring forward through the budget process a cost estimate for renovating that space for the finance area.
So further through you, Madam Mayor, if the finance relocates to that space, what would be happening in the basement space that's vacated?
Yeah, thank you through you, Madam Mayor. We have a shortage of meeting room space, and so our plans would be to convert that into a couple of meeting rooms, and then maybe still some overflow office for students who don't have a space to work. So there's plenty of opportunity to fully utilize the space in another way.
Further questions? Oh, Councillor Kieserbrink?
Trying to read this. One further question. So it mentions here that after July 31st, 2029, the agreement between the township and the Port Perry Annex Corporation would end. Can you explain a little bit about that?
You can. When this building was built, the builders had ownership of the annex with a 20-year, they had it for 20 years and then it reverts to the township. So they collect the rent, the lease. They have the lease money, okay? All right, anything further? Do we have a mover and a seconder? All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, my goodness, it's a long evening. Okay, moving to correspondence. What do we got? I thought we just did that. Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, the fire and emergency services, presentation was received, but not the annual report. So, could I have a mover and a seconder for receiving the report for, thank you, Councillor Watt and Councillor Keith-Brink. All those in favor? And that's carried, thank you. Sorry about that. Now we'll move to the correspondence on page 134. Basically, this is, that the province has given the region some money for the cannabis legislation, and it's just not enough to cover the expenses, social services, all of the expenses with police, the training, etc. So I would recommend that we approve and endorse the correspondence. Councillor McDougall, seconder. Councillor Guido, questions or comments? All those in favor? And that's carried. Any new business? No closed session. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Guido, Councillor Keith-Brink, all those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much, everyone, staff and councillors. Great meeting. 10 o'clock.